You're listening to the Overcast. Sunshine on a cloudy day. Part of the Oversoul Gaming channel. Howdy doody, everybody, and welcome to the Overcast, your joke-making, fun-having pop culture podcast. I am your host with the most, Justin, aka Oversoul.
And I am your co-host with the most, Nick, aka the Vaping Fiend.
Yes, and like always, we bring you sunshine on a cloudy day. Although the days have been sunshine with clouds. And, quite frankly, although the metaphor isn't lost on anyone, I think physically speaking, we could do with maybe a little less sun these days. In terms of actual weather. It's been not so bad these past couple of days, but for the love of God, last week I thought we were all gonna boil alive.
Oh, dude, I had Shrek in my pants arguing over whose swamp it was.
Gross. All right. Well,
That's how bad it was, dude. It was fucking hot out.
yeah, it was bad. It was bad. I have a hint for you. Medicated body powder. You'll thank me later.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Say goodbye to chafing.
Yes.
So, yeah. This episode brought to you by Gold Bond's Medicated Body Powder. Stop your fat ass legs from rubbing together.
Do we have sponsorship now?
No, of course not. That was a joke.
Okay.
But yeah.
Pardon me. I had a little bit of a Sheldon Cooper moment.
Yeah, no, don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all in the sake of ha-has and yada yadas. Anyways, this is by far the most unorganized opening we've ever done. So
a little bit.
So yeah. Anywho, tell me, it's been 2 weeks.
It's been a couple weeks.
It has.
It's been a couple weeks, yeah.
So tell me what's up. What's new? What you do?
So, I am officially divorced. So, there's that. That's some happy news. I've been super quiet about everything going on in the background because I didn't want it to affect my court case. But now, we're all good. I am officially divorced, and this is something else I've been super quiet about because I wasn't 100% sure if it was going to happen or not. But my daughter and I, on July in 8 days from now. Wow, that's coming up real fast. 8 days, and we will be moving to Des Moines, Iowa. Starting a new life.
Congratulations on both accounts.
Cannot
Seriously.
wait. Yeah, I can't wait. I've been getting job offers left and right. I just had it. Well, I had a job interview with Google Fiber over the phone and then over Google Meet on yesterday. Yeah, that was yesterday. And the only reason that didn't go over as planned is because I don't have a valid driver's license. But they said they liked my attitude and my enthusiasm, and to get a hold of them when I have all my ducks in a row and have a driver's license. So, there's that.
That'll probably be a good paying job.
Real quick. Absolutely. The first guy that I talked to said that with my sales experience, he said they could start me at like $22.50 an hour.
Oh damn, okay.
But the second guy is like, no, it's $24 an hour. I'm like, oh, even better.
Jesus. Okay.
That's even better. And it's 40 hours a week. Yes, please.
Real quick though, because I don't think all the audience has the proper context, so I think we should clarify just so that it's for your benefit actually, folks.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, this isn't some like sketchy scenario where like Nick met Sarah and then like left his wife for her or something like that. No,
Absolutely
this was
not.
an
No, my
ongoing
ex,
thing for a long
my
time.
my ex-wife and I, we separated back in September of 2022,
Yeah, so like long before him and Sarah
and I
met each
moved
other.
back. I moved back to Rockford in March of 2023 and met Sarah uh on a just we went to Six Flags Great America for a friend's birthday, and she just so happened to drive out from Des Moines, Iowa, for this friend, and we got separated we got separated from the group, and it was me, Sarah, and two of the kids that were with us, and we just hit it off.
Nope, there you go.
And it just kind of happened. I wasn't even looking for his first to meet somebody. It just happened.
And sometimes that's just kind of how it works. It's a
Exactly.
similar thing, and I'll get to it more when it's my turn, but similar thing going on over here.
Nice.
Things just kind of fell into place.
But man, no.
But yeah, that's
I'm
I just wanted to throw that context and clarity out there, because yeah, him and his wife were already separated by the time him and Sarah met. It was
yeah.
yeah,
Nothing
they were
sketchy
just
going on.
they were just waiting on the legal side of it to finish wrapping up.
Exactly. Yep. Before we could make the move official. But yeah, no, I'm super excited for this move. Um I'm going to be putting in more job applications like clockwork. Um and hopefully have something lined up for when we're for when we move out there.
Yeah. Well, and even if it's not by that time, it shouldn't take you too
Yeah,
long
no.
after moving
It
to
shouldn't
find
take
something.
too it shouldn't even if it's not by the time I'm out there. Yeah, like you said, it should not take me that long to find something with all the offers that I've been getting.
All I can tell you is, because I've learned the hard way, a lot of the stuff that I was taught about job searching growing up no longer applies today because of the different ways that they handle stuff. So that whole,
Yeah.
like, pound the pavement and knock on doors and call everybody shit just annoys most places now. They don't really.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is, like, when they say, don't call us, we'll call you, they fucking mean it. And
Fair enough.
I've heard from people in, like, HR departments and stuff for different companies that a lot of times, if they feel like if you bug them too much after they specifically said don't call us, we'll call you, they will take that as a sign of you're someone who can't follow instructions and put you on the do not hire
That's
list.
what you were telling me. That's what you were telling me. I think last year
Yeah,
when
and
I was looking for work.
it's been that way for a while, and some places do like when you check back, but some places don't, and it's kind of a gamble.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's back in the day, it used to be the more persistent you were, they would just see that as a work ethic and hire you, but now they're a lot more picky about it. And so,
That makes sense.
like,
After the pandemic, I mean, the pandemic affected everything.
I've straight up heard my manager recently saying that she doesn't want to hire anyone who doesn't have prior experience in the field. And I'm like, it's fucking fast food. And this is like, but then I realize, well, I mean, I guess all the people who say it's a quote unquote entry level job can go shove it up their asses now because
Yeah.
because we got people being picky about experience in this so called entry level job. It's not entry level if they don't want to train anyone because they don't have the staff or resources. You know?
Right.
So yeah,
At that
that's
point, it's not entry level anymore.
no, and but they'll still give you entry level pay. It's pretty cutthroat out
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
I hope you find something more worth your time and skill level for sure.
Me too. Me too.
But what else?
Uh Tomorrow, at the time of this recording, I have put together and organized a little powwow, little birthday party for my daughter. at Alpine Park in Rockford, and I was say I got her. She got a skateboard from one of the community days these last couple of weeks that happened at one of the local churches here in town. They were giving out free skateboards to all the kids. So I got her a unicorn helmet and unicorn elbow pads and knee pads so she could use not only use it with that, but also Sarah got her something that will be at her mom's in Altoona I think that's on Tuesday. Um but yeah. It's a Bluey scooter, and it's a self stabilizing scooter, so you're not having to stabilize it yourself. It's got two front wheels and one back wheel, and in order to
Oh.
steer, you don't turn the handlebars, you sway them from side to side, and the wheels light up, and it's Bluey.
Hmm.
So
A Scooey Blooter,
she's
you
gonna
say?
love it. It's a Bluey scooter, yes. She's gonna love it. I am excited, and my mom just picked up two Nintendo Switch games for her. Uh, she picked up Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2,
Oh,
and
okay.
she also picked up the Nickelodeon Kart Racers collection. So technically, my daughter's getting four games.
so, so Nickelodeon Smash Bros. And Nickelodeon Mario Kart. Then,
Yes, yes, yes.
hey, that Nickelodeon Smash Bros. Game is actually free on Game Pass right now. I'm gonna be
Is
giving it
it
a try.
nice? Didn't that game win something at the Game Awards too, or am I wrong? I can't remember. I think they did.
Nominated for Family Game, didn't win.
God, okay, it was nominated. Okay, that's what it was. Okay.
Very nice though.
Yeah, no, she's got, and then
Those are
I
gifts
ordered
where
some.
like if I was a father, I would be like, these gifts are you, but I'm definitely gonna benefit from them too. That's for sure.
No, that's exactly how this is gonna go. Because I'm gonna play them with her, and she's and I'm gonna play them with her, and I'm gonna have fun doing it.
I actually distinctly remember many Christmases where like certain family members, usually like fathers and uncles, would get to like putting the toys together for the kids that got them for Christmas, but then they'd be so
Mm-hmm.
interested in it that they just like take it over themselves.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be good. And then we're gonna do some, and then I think we're gonna try and do something for her on her actual birthday. No, not on her actual birthday because her birthday is on a Tuesday. I think we're gonna do it on the 7th, uh, because that's a Wednesday, and that Sarah usually has Wednesdays off. So we're gonna try and do something for her birthday on August 7th.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah, it's the little one's golden birthday coming up this August 6th, because she's gonna be turning 6 on August 6th.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And another thing that she's getting for her birthday or Christmas, I'm not sure if we've decided on when she's getting this yet, but Sarah's mom took advantage of an after Christmas sale this past December and got my daughter a Barbie dream house, which normally runs about $150. They're not
Damn.
cheap. They're not fucking cheap. So yeah, of course she took advantage of an after Christmas sale.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you know how much of a deal she got on it?
I have no idea,
Oh,
and I
okay.
didn't think it
Okay.
was appropriate to ask either. So I am not
That's
even
fair.
going
I
to
was
ask.
just I was just looking to be impressed by how
Fair enough. No, I
I
get
was
that.
wondering. I was wondering to see how much they cut it.
Right, yeah.
I can't imagine
Yeah,
it was
no,
by too much though. If they run
Barbie dream
150
houses
normally.
Barbie dream houses are fucking expensive, and they have no business being as expensive as they are. At least that's my opinion, okay?
Nothing does. Nothing really does.
Yeah.
There was a time, like maybe like I would say even 3-4 years ago, where I felt like most things were reasonably priced, including video games, considering the effort and all that goes into them. I don't feel that way now. I feel like
No?
not only has everything become more expensive than it's actually worth, but the quality of everything has actually gone down too as a result. So now it's even less worth the higher price they're asking, and that's not just. That's for everything. That's for video games. That's for food. That's for like everything. So, yeah.
I mean, the dollar menu at McDonald's isn't even just $1 anymore.
No, it's not. And that's the other thing too. Like, I'll let you into a little secret from my job. We only put mayonnaise on one side of the chicken sandwich now instead of both sides, but we're still charging the same price for it.
Okay.
Companies will do shady shit to cut costs on their end, but still, price gouge the customer. And
yeah, that's a little fucked.
Then have the audacity to send people home early on slow days because of labor hours. Like, there's no way you're not rolling in Scrooge McDuck piles of gold with all of the price gouging at this point.
Right.
You're cutting corners. You're cutting corners on the actual product, so you're not spending any money, but you're still making a shit ton because you're overcharging for it.
That.
So yeah, you have more than enough.
Scrooge McDuck. That's fucking funny.
Yeah. You remember when in Family Guy when they won the lottery and Peter's like, he said, I filled a vault full of like a pool of gold. I'm gonna dive into it like Scrooge McDuck, and then he went to do it, and he just like broke all of his bones and hurt himself diving into it. I
remember that very well.
And he's like, oh, it's not a liquid. It's a great many pieces of solid that form together and make a hard concrete-like surface.
Yes.
Like, no shit. I knew that was coming, too. Like, I saw that coming a mile away. Like, that was like, I'm like, watch, they're gonna show what this would actually happen scientifically here. And
Yep. Sure the fuck did.
DuckTales is a goddamn lie. Ducks don't talk.
Yeah.
Like... Shit. Oh, God. Well, anyways.
Man. What's going on with you?
Well, speaking of work, that's been super busy lately, what with all the lunch hours I've been working. And I much prefer working the nights because they're more chill, laid back. Sure, they drag on a little bit longer, but there's like, it's a less stressful environment at night. More quiet, less people. But nighttime is also like the only time that Sky and I get to spend any time together playing games online and stuff for the last few hours before she goes to bed, because the rest of her day is so filled with like running errands and family stuff. So so yeah, so I'll take the day shifts too, because those are the days when I'm working the day shifts at night that I usually get to spend time online with her, as long as we're both up for it that night too. There have been a couple of times where either one or the other of us just like wasn't
feeling up to it.
Just wasn't feeling well or whatever,
Fair enough.
Like either like really sick or really stressed out from a bad day or something like that,
Right, yeah.
Not enough energy to people even with each other, which we both completely understand.
Fair enough. I mean, at least you guys get each other.
Mm-hmm. And most of the time, most of the time, it's rare that happens. Most of the time we get on, and most of the time that time we spend together actually helps alleviate the stress from whatever happened earlier in the day or whatever. But yeah, but every once in a while, so
Yeah.
but we are still doing that. We're still spending a lot of time online together. We have been doing a couple playthroughs of House of Ashes to do some trophy hunting, because we're not going to move on to our next game, which will be It Takes Two, until she's got the platinum in either that or Little Hope. That way she's not working on too many things at once and getting overwhelmed by it. So
That makes sense.
and that also stretches out the amount of time that we spend on one game, so we have more time together, because like once we get through these next two games, then we're gonna have to come up with something else to play. So
Right. Yeah.
this just prolongs that having to worry about that part. So
Right.
But the big thing here is that, like, as of a couple weeks ago, not long after we recorded the last episode, actually, her and I are officially together now.
That's awesome. Congrats. I'm happy for you guys.
We were trying to decide what to call it, and thank you. We were trying to decide what to call it, but we went with domestic partnership on Facebook because it's the closest thing to how we actually see it. We're not using terminology like boyfriend girlfriend because it's
right.
Well, for one thing, we're both non-binary, but for another thing, it's just weird for us. It feels more like something you say in your teens or early 20s, but that's not
Fair enough.
that's not like a jab at anyone who does use that terminology. It's just not for us.
Yeah.
We
No,
feel
I
like
get that.
we're too old for it. So
That's fair enough.
we're partners,
To each
basically.
their own.
We're partners. We're companions. That's
Exactly.
that's how we look at it. And so we're at that phase now where I guess you could technically say we're dating. For all the normies out there who need like a dumbed down version of this to understand it, we're in a relationship. We're just not.
Yes.
We're just not wording it that way, because in a relationship can be. You're technically in a relationship with all your friends and family. Those are all relationships. It's a very vague term. So, but we're exclusive. It's it's me and her and no one else. So that's basically what it means.
Very nice.
Is
I'm
that
happy
we
for
are?
you guys.
Yeah, that's what it means. Is that we're exclusive? Like not single anymore.
Right.
That's the important part. So yeah, that's that's been awesome so far. We're very happy. And yeah, we definitely speak each other's language.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we've been having a good old time with the games and stuff. It's she really enjoys being with someone who can make her laugh, and that seems to happen a lot.
Fair. I mean, you're a pretty funny dude, so yeah, I would say so.
She goes back to my Resident Evil 7 Let's Play a lot and rewatches it because my reactions make her laugh in that.
Fair. I mean, right. Fair enough.
And I played it in VR too. It was like
yep. Yep. I understand why she goes back.
Oh yeah, I had some wild reactions in that game.
Oh, I believe it.
I was woo doggy. Hey, I'm so desensitized to that shit now, though. It would be like a completely different ball game at this point. But
yeah.
But that was early VR for me, and that was woohoo, man.
Fair enough.
That was an experience. So,
I hear it's scarier when you do it in VR.
Yeah. But also,
it puts you in the game.
But also, yeah, like I was saying in the last episode, it's refreshing to be with somebody who just gets you in the way that you need to be, and it's like someone you can have discussions with that don't get out of hand and whatever. But also, um, it's also kind of refreshing for, I mean, both of us because even though she's ace and I'm demi, those are both under the asexual spectrum. So it's
Yes.
refreshing for both of us to have a thing going on here that is based entirely around a strong emotional bond, and that like sex isn't really a driving force for it. We're not
Right.
not super worried about that aspect, you know. Um Everything that we've been through leading up till now, all the bullshit with all of our exes and stuff, we feel like it was all building to this eventually.
Good.
Because those experiences taught us how to not be to other people, and
Say when you and I first started hanging out, your ex that you were with at the time, I, mm, I'll be honest. The only reason I put up with it is because I was your friend.
oh,
Otherwise,
yeah,
I had some things to say.
yeah. Sky has more or less said the same thing to me. She basically told me that yeah, she could tell I was unhappy.
You definitely were, bro.
Yeah. So yeah, but not anymore. That is not the
No,
case now.
no,
This
that's
is. God, honestly, I feel like I'm flourishing these days. Quite frankly.
yeah. I would say so.
Um, and it's all in large part and thanks to her.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I mean we're still trying to unlearn certain trauma responses from shit from the past, but
Mm-hmm.
That's a process that takes time, and the more of a safe space we are for each other, the easier it becomes to have the easier it becomes to unlearn those things.
Yeah.
You know, because I'll be like, to give you an example, I've been in relationships in the past where if something's wrong and I ask, I'm like, "Hey, what's wrong?" or "Do you want to talk about it?" and they'll say nothing or "No, I don't." And because of me and the way I am, I'll take that at face value and not assume there's any hidden meaning or anything more to it. You said what you said, it is what it is. But
Yeah.
I've been in relationships where that's a mind game where they will get
Yep.
mad for me not prodding more, for me not digging deeper, for me just
Yeah.
accepting that answer. And that's never going to be the case here ever.
That's
Like,
I would say that's emotional manipulation right there.
exactly, and that'll never be the case here with her. If she says, and it's very rare that she ever says I don't want to talk about it if something's bothering her, but if she does say that, it's because she actually genuinely means it. It's not some kind of, you know, trick to test me or other non-stupid shit
Yeah.
like that. you know.
Yeah.
um and that's good, and she hates that shit, absolutely despises it, so she would never do it. um
Good.
and me too. We are, for all intents and purposes, in a lot of ways, more or less basically the same person. Uh, there are significant differences there too, but in a lot of the ways that really truly matter, we are the same person.
Yeah.
And I think that's why this works so well.
That's awesome, bro. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's all that's been, I haven't really put a lot of time into new games and stuff lately because a lot of my free time I've been spending online, playing games with her and stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh but I'll be getting back to it soon. They just released Flintlock Siege of Dawn and that Path of the Goddess game on Game Pass, both of them, so I'm going to check them out when I can.
Right.
Uh and a few other things. I played a little more Princess Peach Showtime. Not a whole lot, but like the more I play it, the more I'm like, yeah, this is pretty fucking fun. Like, I can't lie. This is a solid game. So,
Nice. Yeah, I've played a little bit of it. Not too much.
I can really only play those games in short bursts, though. Those platformer collectathons.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're kind of designed for that, anyways. Like play a level or two, then put it down for a while, come back to it later. So
Yeah.
that's
I've
how
done
I
it
do it.
with Super Mario Wonder.
Yep. So, but yeah, that's more or less basically everything going on lately.
Nice.
Busy work, busy life. The idea here is, like I'm starting to put money in savings and stuff, because the idea here is that there may be a potential future if things keep going the way they're going and we go from, just dating to being like serious, then I may be moving. So
There you go, man.
but we cross that bridge when we come to it. It's
Right.
it's a ways off if it does get there. So but it has been a conversation at the very least.
That's awesome.
So
But
yeah.
hey, one last quick thing before we mosey on over to the media corner.
Okay.
I wanted to give a shout out to some of the people that I know are potentially listening. That I think by the time this episode comes out, they will be former coworkers. Evan, you were an awesome substitute supervisor. Sage, amazing supervisor. Let's see who else. Jake, I know you're probably listening. I'll be in touch, for sure. But it was my last day at work coming up is the 25th, and moving day is the 28th.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with all of that out of the way, it is time to transition into that media corner.
Yes, let's mosey on over.
You listen to me. You're Nick fucking... Whoa, Cage!
All right, everybody, welcome to the Media Corner, the part of the show reserved for news, reviews, recommendations, and sometimes
previews.
Yes, that. So, it sounds like technically we both have two things and then a combined third item in this episode.
Yes.
And I'm gonna go first because we have a little bit of sad news and we're just gonna knock it out of the park right away. But the great Bob Newhart has sadly passed away at the ripe old age of 92.
Rest in peace, Bob Newhart.
Yes, the old heads out there may remember him from his comedy show, The Bob Newhart Show, and a lot of other old, late-night TV stuff. However, you youngins out there will probably mostly remember him as the Papa Elf from Elf.
I was going to say, yeah, that was my absolute favorite role that he did.
The Will Ferrell comedy movie Elf, yeah.
You all know how I feel about how I feel about holiday movies. I'm a huge holiday movie buff, so this one held a special place in my heart.
He lived a full age though, so
he did. He really did.
He was 92, so I'm not going to be super sad about it so much as I'm going to be celebratory of his
right.
accomplishments and the fact that he lived a full life,
exactly.
Not everyone gets that. So, some people make it to 50, some people make it to 22, some people make it to 5. So, he made it to 92. Think about that for a minute. Think about how long that really is. How much time on this earth. He was born in
almost 100 years.
He was born in 1929.
God damn! All right.
Yeah, yeah. He he was born when shit was like still being invented.
Yeah, he
Well,
was.
stuff's always being invented, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
Before the way before the modern commodities.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Absolutely.
Um. but he's seen a lot. That man saw several presidents come and go.
Oh, abso-fucking-lutely he did.
Yeah, he lived through historical movements. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you
He
know,
sure did.
several wars. Uh,
Yes.
so, um, so yeah, that's a nice long life, and he made a lot of accomplishments. But here's a character that you may not know that he may not have known that he played. Do you remember the Disney movies, The Rescuers and The Rescuers Down Under,
I absolutely loved those movies. Yes.
with the two mice and the bird?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, so the two mice, Bianca and Bernard, right?
Yeah. Was he
He
Bernard?
he was Bernard.
Okay. Nice.
Yep, Bob Newhart was Bernard in those movies.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, a lot of accomplishments, a great, nice, long life, and he was well known. And yeah, you never heard a bad thing about the man either. You know, he lived a pretty good
No.
life. So,
Yeah, he sure did.
rest in peace, Bob Newhart. You will be missed. You were one of the greats.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, that's all I had on that. I'm not gonna linger on the sad for too long,
Right.
but I just wanted to mention it because he was such a great man, and he needed
Yes.
it needed to be brought up.
Recognition.
Yeah,
Yes, he needed. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
he's not the only one who's passed away recently either, but I've decided to give him the center
The
stage.
spotlight.
But yeah, a special shout out to Richard Simmons as well, who also passed away
Yeah.
in the last few weeks. So
Mm-hmm.
you may remember him from his workout videos.
The fitness guru. Yes.
Yep.
I first saw him. He did a special guest spot on Whose Line Is It Anyway when Drew Carey was still hosting.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
That was by far one of the funniest episodes I've seen. That and the Robin Williams episode.
Yeah. But, alright, what's your first entry?
I just watched all 5 episodes of season 6, part 1 of Cobra Kai. And holy shit. They're going out with the bang. I like that they're taking the final season of this show with season 5 is long gone, so it's way past the statutes of limitation. So I'm just gonna say it. With Kreese gone and in prison, he's out of the way, and he can't get in the way of whatever Daniel LaRusso, Johnny Lawrence, whatever they want to fucking. They have entered into this world tournament that will, if they win this tournament, will bring years and decades of success to their dojo. They entered a world tournament called the Sekai Taikai tournament. And this is not just something that happens. This is also televised. So this is going to be something really fucking huge. And without getting too spoilery, there was some things that happened in these 5 episodes that I'm like, oh, god damn it, why the fuck is this shit happening? But no, oh man, the way the mid-season finale ended, they could not have ended it on a more perfect note because they had just showed up in Barcelona, Spain for the Sekai Taikai tournament, and they left it at that. None of the matches have happened yet, but they left it at them showing up at the tournament. And Season 6 will return on November 15th. I cannot wait.
Okay. So exciting build-up, cliffhanger.
Oh, yes.
Payoff coming
Major
later.
cliffhanger.
Okay. I see.
Major cliffhanger. And to know that the resolution for said cliffhanger is not that far away. Man. It's only a few short months away.
Okay. Very nice.
Man, but so far I'd have to say I'm sorry, I'm biased as fuck when it comes to Cobra Kai. The way I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10.
I was gonna ask if you wanted to rate it so far, or if you wanted to wait for the season to finish and give the whole season a rating, or not.
I'm just gonna give it the rating now. 10 out of 10. I'm super biased when it comes to Cobra Kai because fucking Ralph Macchio, William Zabka, they can do no wrong. It's such a good show.
Yeah, we can have our biases, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I hear a lot of good things about this show from many different people, so.
Fun fact, it started out as a YouTube Red series and then Netflix picked it up.
Oh, fun. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that YouTube Red thing didn't really last very long. I mean, YouTube Premium,
No.
we still have YouTube Premium, but, like, the Red part of it doesn't seem to be a thing much anymore.
No,
Like
not for real.
The premium exclusive series, most of them, they either got canceled or picked up by someone else.
Yeah, but no, apparently whatever happens at the end of this season of Cobra Kai is supposed to completely be wrapped up when the new Karate Kid movie comes out next year with Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan.
Oh, I see. Okay. Man, everything is becoming a transmedia franchise now.
I'm telling you, man.
Like, it's no longer just like, oh, just watch these 3 movies and it's a trilogy. Now it's like, well, you gotta watch these 3 movies, then 2 TV shows, then read this book, then play this video game, and then watch another movie after that. And then you'll have the whole story.
Pretty much.
I'm looking at you, Assassin's Creed.
Yes.
That was we did a whole episode on transmedia franchises, actually.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Well, speaking of things that go out with a bang and end on big-ass cliffhangers, I finished recently the season 4 of The Boys. Yeah. Now, obviously,
how was it?
It was good, but I'm gonna be dancing around spoilers here. I will say,
Okay.
whether it's definitely not fully intentional because these episodes are produced and filmed and written like a year in advance at least. So
Yeah.
there are so many parallels between Homelander and a former president in this show.
Lord.
In
Okay.
this season in particular, including
God.
including court trials and
Oh God, really?
and
Oh, I need to finish Gen V.
and some messy presidential stuff. I'll just leave it at that.
Oof.
Oof.
Okay.
So-
No, this has me excited. So
So
man.
So basically, here's the thing, though. I like this season a lot. I really do. And yes, you will need to finish season 1 of Gen V, which is getting a season 2, I understand. Because...
okay.
And I'll be honest with you, I was waiting for it to really pay off in this season in a meaningful way, and for the most part, it was just a couple of cameos of characters from Gen V, and the virus that they introduce in Gen V plays a huge role in the story of this season of The Boys.
Ooh,
so that's part of
okay.
what makes it important. Not to mention Victoria Newman. Victoria Newman is a huge part of the story in this season as well, and she's in Gen V too. So,
okay.
You may remember her as the head popping vice president.
Yes.
So, yeah, there's a whole political campaign thing going on here, but yeah, Gen V is important, but it doesn't get the connection in terms of the characters introduced in Gen V doesn't become super important until the end of the show. Until like the last episode.
Okay.
Of season 4.
I have a small side tangent, but it's still related to The Boys.
Okay.
So there was recently a premium live event that WWE hosted called Money in the Bank. Well, one of the sponsors for Money in the Bank was The Boys. And you know what company name was plastered all over each Money in the Bank briefcase? They had the name Vought on the fucking Money in the Bank briefcases. I'm like, yeah, this is just a huge reminder that I need to finish Gen V.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you definitely should. Here's what I will tell you, for the most part, as far as Gen V goes in terms of The Boys. The two most important characters from Gen V in terms of relation to season 4 of The Boys are what's her name? Caitlin, I think it is, the girl who touches people and controls their minds, and
I think so. I could be wrong.
And Sam, the boy that is in the that's in the underground prison that sees puppets.
Okay.
They're the two most important characters in terms of the parts that cross over.
Okay.
However, Gen V does introduce... I can't remember if he's been on The Boys before or not, but Gen V does introduce a Batman parody character called Tech Knight.
I don't think I've gotten that far yet.
Which, technically, Black Noir was already technically a Batman parody, but Tech Knight even more so doubles down on it super hard, because Tech Knight is a rich billionaire with a butler and a sidekick, and he's got, instead of a bat cave, he's got a sex dungeon.
Interesting.
I'll just leave it at that. But Tech Knight is introduced in Gen V, and he's a super smart billionaire detective guy like Batman, but he does also have, like, powers. He can, like... He's like, like Robert Downey Jr.'s Sherlock Holmes character. Like, he could like see people's like heart palpitations and shit, and be able to like pick apart the whole what's gonna happen before it happens. That's what Tech Knight is like.
Like a premonition almost.
Yeah, that's Tech Knight.
Okay.
Well, he plays a big role he's introduced in Gen V and plays a big role in season 4 of The Boys as well. So
nice.
there's a lot going on there. There is a lot of carryover. The virus, some of the characters introduced, all that's going to carry over into season 4 of The Boys. So yeah, you definitely got to watch it.
Didn't they say that season 5 was going to be the final season for The Boys?
It is, and that kind of introduces one of the few problems I have with this season, but I will get to that in a minute. Okay. Well, I mean, I'll just say right now, like, the only real issue I had with this season is that it feels like a filler season that is basically setting up the conflict for the finale. It's not like Nothing really
Got it. Okay.
nothing really gets resolved in this season. That's not to say it's bad. There are some really good episodes. There's one episode with Huey's dad that absolutely broke my heart. It is an amazing episode. You know,
Yeah.
there's some really good character moments in here. Some characters have some really, really dark secrets exposed. Some people die. It's insane, but it doesn't go anywhere. Nothing actually happens this season. Like, things happen, but nothing happens. There's no, like, grand finale payoff like there is in the other seasons. Like, you know how season 3
Right.
had that huge fight between Soldier Boy and Homelander? There's nothing like
Yes.
that. There's nothing like that here. This is more like...
They're gonna make us wait a whole nother year for season
Yeah,
5.
the season ends
Fucking
on...
cheap assholes.
The season ends on a huge but probably one of the most horrifying cliffhangers you could imagine. So
Oh man. Okay.
this is basically I think what they're building up to is in season 5. I think what they're building up to is a all-out war between the humans and the supes.
Really?
Or like some
Okay.
kind of dystopian totalitarian, like the superheroes declare martial law and now they're gonna like it's basically
Ooh.
an excuse to exterminate their political rivals and shit kind of situation. Like, basically it would be like the modern day equivalent of a bunch of red hats rounding up anybody who's different and putting them in internment camps, you know.
I was gonna say I heard something that the Deep is still on that dark path that he's always been on since the first season.
Yeah, well, the Deep is on a dumb path is what he's on, but because he's
On a dumb path. Okay.
But he has some really fucked up moments in this season, and at one point I almost kind of feel bad for him, but then I realize, he falls back into a bad trap. But there's a lot of shit going on in this season. Characters who didn't have superpowers before now do, and some people lose theirs.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and we get introduced to a few new characters who I can only consider villains because they're part of the Seven. One of them is Sister Sage, who is the smartest person on Earth, like in the whole world. She is super brilliant, super smart, and it's, you know...
So, Albert Einstein 2.0.
Homelander hires her as a sort of, to like, help him plot, but it's one of those things where, like, there's a lot of...
almost like an intelligence kind of thing.
There's a lot of tension between them because she knows that she's way smarter than him, and we all know Homelander has some very serious mental issues. He's got an ego.
Yes.
Well, the thing is, this is a man with a fragile ego allowing himself to be instructed by someone who he would normally see as inferior, and she takes full advantage of that and definitely throws some jabs at him and his intelligence level every now and then. Like,
that's fantastic.
She mouths off to him in a smart person way because she knows she can get away with it because she knows that he needs her, you know? And so there's
that's fucking gaslighting at its finest, though.
Sister Sage is a professional gaslighter. Every single thing she does in this entire season is with a driven purpose. None of it's on accident. And even when it looks like everything is starting to fall apart, that's just another part of her overall plan.
There.
If
Okay.
anything, I would argue that Sister Sage is the main villain of this season because she's not getting her hands dirty. She does not get her hands dirty on the front lines at all, but she is a puppet master pulling everyone's strings on both sides from behind the scenes the whole time.
Damn. Okay. No, I need to seriously finish Gen V like soon.
And the other character,
this sounds fantastic.
The other character we get introduced to is Firecracker, who is she is a stand-in for basically Alex Jones, is the best way to put it. She is a alt-right conspiracy theorist, like, racist horrible person with
Jesus. Okay.
with a schoolgirl-like infatuation for Homelander. Um,
All right.
and I'll put it to you this way: her followers are so messed up that they think it's more forgiving, or it's that they find it easier to forgive someone having relations with an underage person than someone having an abortion.
What the fuck?
Yes. So I won't give any more context for that because you just have to see where and how all that comes from. But here's another a thing for you. Like I said, literally everything that happens in this season, for the most part, not everything, but pretty much everything that happens in terms of superheroes and media and all that, it's all part of Sage's plan. She is running everything
Got it.
behind the scenes.
Okay.
And even when, yeah, like I said, even when things happen that you don't think should have happened, it was all something that she wanted to happen the whole time. So that's just, she's that kind of villain.
Got it.
And she's really good at it. I'll put it to you this way: this character is so smart that she has to, in order to feel, she's so smart that it becomes a burden on her, and she actually has to give herself a lobotomy every now and then in order to dumb herself down so she can relax or enjoy things like, or enjoy normal things like sex and stuff, you know.
Jesus. Okay.
But her brain goes back. This woman can get shot in the head and survive because her brain is constantly growing.
God damn.
It's pretty nuts. So, yeah. By the way, it took me a few seasons to realize this, but literally every soup in the entire series, every last superhero, well, she doesn't have superpowers. She's just really, really that smart for the most part. I mean, I guess you could call her intelligence a superpower, but for the most part, maybe not all of them, but most of the superheroes by default all have super strength and are bulletproof. That's just like a default thing with them. I've noticed that because I noticed that it's the case with a lot of them, but yeah, but anyways, in this season, you'll see a few others. There's a character called Webweaver who's a Spider-Man parody. Like I said, there's Tech Knight who's a Batman parody. They're all in here. It's really good stuff. I don't know. Firecracker, I think, is supposed to be a Wonder Woman parody. She basically replaces Queen Maeve in that, but she's more of the, whereas Queen Maeve was more of the Amazonian Wonder Woman.
She gave off major Wonder Woman vibes. Queen Maeve did.
Firecracker is more of the Murica Wonder Woman.
Got it. Okay.
So, I'm not sure what her superhero equivalent would be, really, to be honest with you, but so yeah, that is
maybe Captain Marvel?
No, well,
no.
Outfit wise, maybe, yeah.
Okay.
I could maybe see that. But yeah, so yeah, there's a lot going on in this season, and there are definitely some really sad moments. It's The Boys, so as you can expect, a lot of people are gonna die. A lot of people are gonna die.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm fully expecting people to die in this season.
But basically, the main conflict going on here in this season is a lot of political shit between Robert Singer and Victoria Newman, and Homelander getting involved in that. The Sister Sage pulling everyone's strings behind the scene, and then the boys trying to use the virus from Godolkin from Gen V and trying to reproduce it to use it as a weapon against both Victoria Newman and Homelander. It's supposed to be a superhero killing virus.
Okay.
So, and meanwhile, Butcher is dealing with the side effects of the Temp V that he took in the last season, and it is, let's just say, let's just say it's doing things to him.
Good old Billy Butcher.
Yeah, he just
By far one of my favorite characters.
well, just wait till you see how the season ends as far as his character goes. Holy shit.
Okay. Oh, I can't wait.
By the way, another I'm not going to give any context on who it is or why they introduce him because it's all very spoiler heavy, but Jeffrey Dean Morgan is in this season as well. Another Supernatural alumni returning to another because you know the guy who does The Boys is the same guy who did Supernatural, right?
I didn't, but now I do.
Eric Kripke. That's why so many of the cast keeps returning. That's why we've had Jensen Ackles. That's why Robert Singer is the president. In fact, there's a Supernatural reference in one of the episodes of the season where Robert Singer calls someone an idiot.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Bobby.
Yeah, because
Yes.
that's Bobby, and he goes his actual name is Robert Singer, and that's just he goes by his real name in everything he's in.
Nice.
So, yeah, he's Bobby Singer in Supernatural. He's President Robert Singer in The Boys. So, and
okay.
I don't know. It's not confirmed, but I heard that Jared Padalecki might be in season 5. So,
Oh, that would be fucking awesome.
but yeah, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, John Winchester, and Negan from The Walking Dead is in a lot of this season actually, and he's really good.
Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait.
The reason that it's so good too, by the way, is because all of his scenes are also scenes that Butcher is in, for good reason.
But okay.
So it's just a lot of back and forth between him and Butcher.
Is he Butcher's dad?
No. Let's just say they're former war buddies.
Got it. Okay.
And, of course, there's also the whole thing with Ryan. Ryan plays a huge role in this season where he's slowly starting to learn that his actual dad, Homelander, may not be such a great guy after all. He's starting to grow a conscience. Let's just say that.
Good. As he should.
There are some moments. It's fluctuating, though. There are some moments where he starts acting like his dad and abusing his power. But then there are moments where it feels like Butcher's getting through to him and he's starting to question some of the shit Vought's having him do. So,
Yeah.
So that's good. And Ashley, oh boy, Ashley. Man, she's a trip this season, let me tell you. Some very interesting scenes with her, and the finale, goddamn. Okay. Anyways, all I can say is like there's, like I said, a lot of shit gets set up in this season with no actual payoff because they plan on paying it off next season. So
in the series finale, yeah.
Yeah, so whereas the other 3 seasons all felt like self-contained stories that got wrapped up at the end of the season then moved on to something else, another conflict, this season feels more like it's the first half of a 2-parter where season 5 is going to be part 2.
How much do you want to bet season 2 of Gen V is going to come out before season 5 of The Boys does?
It probably will, especially after how season 4 of The Boys ended. I'll just leave it at that.
Fair enough.
All I will say is that, like I said, Caitlin and Sam are very important.
Okay.
So
I'll have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's a lot of it has to do with more of Vought's manipulation of turning the bad guys into good guys and vice versa, you know, controlling the narrative. There's a lot of that going on in this season. There's a lot of the bad guys doing bad things behind the scenes and then controlling the narrative to make it look like the good guys did it so people turn against them.
Right.
And it's very frustrating. It happens quite a bit.
I believe it.
So,
like an emotional roller coaster almost?
Absolutely.
Oh,
so
man, those are the best kinds of shows.
My overall rating for this season, just because, you know, after you have Soldier Boy, you had Hero-gasm and all that, it feels lackluster compared to season 3. But it feels like they didn't go as hard. It's less edgy, less over the top. More, like I said, this season's more about building up the conflict that'll be resolved in the next one. But but there's a lot of tension behind what that potential conflict could be because it has like catastrophic world-ending stakes here.
Yes.
So, like, this is where things are finally starting to get, like, genuinely serious.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, the heroes are getting desperate. So, I would give this season an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay. That's still pretty damn good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, season 3 was like a strong 9, if not 9.5 out of 10, and Soldier Boy had a lot to do with that.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Absolutely.
this season feels like a little bit of a step backwards overall, but it's still good. You know, there's not a single episode that isn't enjoyable. It's just that the whole season overall feels like nothing actually happened. You know, nothing got nothing got resolved. Nothing, you know, is just people died and now there's about to be a war. You know, yeah. So it's just the build up for the payoff, but it's still good. It's still good.
Okay.
So, yeah. Anyways, yeah, what's your second thing?
My second thing is a little movie called The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Ooh, okay.
Now, this movie, Nicolas Cage plays himself in this movie. And he is having issues with finding work, and he's got a lot of financial problems, spending all his money.
Okay.
And then his agent, played by Neil Patrick Harris, tells him, "We got another call this morning. You've been offered $1 million to show up to someone's birthday party." Well, this very wealthy Nicolas Cage fan is played by none other than Pedro Pascal. And Nicolas Cage flies to his compound, without getting too spoilery, because I don't know if any of our listeners plan on watching this. I know you said you had showed interest in watching this.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to at some point.
Basically, Nicolas Cage has to do what he does best, and he finds himself in a dangerous situation. So what does Nicolas Cage do? He busts out his plethora of different action characters that he's played over the years and done what those characters would have done in this situation. It's a really entertaining, funny movie. It gets serious at times, but all as a whole, it's really good. And
from what I understand, he basically made a movie about himself here.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happened here. That is exactly what happened. And it's so... Oh my god, it's so good.
Wait, are the characters that he busts out, are they from other, like, existing movies of his, or are they, like, in-universe characters for this movie that they made up?
Already existing characters.
So from, like, his other...
National Treasure is mentioned. Face Off is mentioned. Let's see, what else is
mentioned? Oh,
shit,
for real? Okay.
Yeah! There's, like, massive, like, major, like, big-time roles that he's done that are all brought up in this movie. There was at one point, Pedro Pascal takes Nicolas Cage to a room where he's got nothing but Nicolas Cage memorabilia. And it's awesome.
Wait, so do the other celebrities play themselves in this too, or are they fictional characters for the movie?
I think they're just fictional characters for the movie.
Okay, so Neil Patrick Harris isn't like his actual agent, he's just playing an agent in the movie.
Correct, yeah. No, he's just playing the agent in the movie. Pedro
Okay.
Pascal is not Pedro Pascal.
No,
but
he's Nick Cage fanboy, apparently.
a major Nick Cage fanboy, while also being part of a cartel.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Pedro Pascal cannot escape being typecasted. He's either a Mexican stereotype or a sad dad. There's like
he's
no
so fucking funny. He's so funny in this.
See, the only comedy I've seen Pedro Pascal do is playing the overprotective Mexican mother in the SNL skit that they've done twice with him and Marcelo Hernandez. And Pedro Pascal can be funny though, because I saw the episode of SNL he hosted, and he was fucking hilarious in that episode.
He did a really good job in this. I liked his role just as much as I liked Nick Cage's. It was great. I loved every second of it. If I had to give it a rating, I'd give it an 8.5.
Okay. That's pretty good, I would say, because Nicolas Cage movies can range anywhere from being really good to absolutely shit. So, like, and that's just because he takes everything they throw at him.
Mm-hmm.
His acting can only carry it so much, but I've heard really good things about, like, Mandy, for example, which I haven't seen yet.
I've not seen that one yet either. There's this new movie on Shudder. I forget what it's called. I've watched a little bit of it, and then I admittedly fell asleep. But it's again another Nicolas Cage movie.
There's a Five Nights at Freddy's kind of parody one called Wally's Wonder World or some shit like that, where
I did, however, see that.
Yeah, he's a janitor fighting off animatronics. He doesn't say
doesn't
a word
have
the entire movie.
have a goddamn line in the whole ass movie. No.
Yep.
Doesn't have a damn line.
Well, it's supposed to be video gamey too, because you notice how between each kill he like drinks energy drinks and plays pinball to like quote unquote level up or whatever. Yep. It's supposed to be a very video gamey movie, like not serious. Okay. Well, that's a good rating for the Nick Cage movie, though. Yeah, he's in a lot of shit. Goddamn.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, so
but there's like a running joke all like in the movie, like he's like, "We're back, baby. Not that we went anywhere."
Right. So for the final media corner entry, we've both recently watched the horror movie Abigail, and we're gonna combine our reviews together for this.
We're gonna dissect it real quick.
Yeah, rather than it being like one of our entries and the other like giving input on it, we're just gonna combine it together.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how we're gonna do those from now on. I think that's a better idea. So.
One thing I want to point out that I noticed right off the bat was the fact that Angus Cloud was in this. Rest in peace, Angus Cloud. For anybody that doesn't know who Angus Cloud is, he was he played in the HBO series Euphoria.
Yep.
As Fez. I think he was a drug dealer in there.
Yeah. His acting is good because he was absolutely the worst character in this movie. Like,
oh my!
I wouldn't say that. I'm gonna avoid spoilers on this one.
Oh, yeah,
it's
true,
like brand new.
Yeah. That's my bad. We'll cut that out.
Yeah. But, like, he was by far the most obnoxious character in the movie.
Trying to fucking... I'm a good reader.
He was definitely doing a Malibu's Most Wanted, like...
Yeah, no. Mm-hmm.
He's definitely doing a discount M&M thing.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
That or he was just high out of his gourd. But, like...
That, too.
Not the actor, the character, obviously, but, like, yeah. I don't think... For the most part, I don't think anyone in this movie is supposed to be truly likable with the exception of a few characters, because they're all doing a bad thing. right?
Yeah.
So the setup of this movie, folks, is that like these people all take a job to kidnap this 12-year-old girl and hold her for a ransom from her father. They, just got to babysit her for 24 hours while the guy who hired them gets the ransom. But the tables get turned on them when the girl that they kidnapped turns out to be a vampire. Now, that's not a spoiler because it's in the trailer. And that's one of the things, when people saw the trailer for this, they were like, oh, they're spoiling the big twist. The girl's a vampire. Let me tell you, having seen this movie, that little girl being a vampire is not the big twist in this movie. It is far from it.
Far the fuck from it.
There are actually several twists in this movie that actually caused... I would argue caused the movie to completely change genre. In fact, I would say the trailer is misleading as to what this movie is really about. I would say that trailer basically just gave you the basic setup, but what happens after all that is what the movie really is. And
Honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even watch the trailer.
And I can't even, I can't get into, but going into it, you knew it was about that the girl was a vampire, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was the whole reason. That, and I know you had talked about it too.
Yeah. So I knew that basic setup, and a lot of people that justified complain that trailers give away too much these days because a lot of them do. They just put out another trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine, a few days ago, and this trailer shows a lot more serious stuff, like villain encounters and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I feel like the trailer gives too much away. I feel like there's a surprise character from Logan that the trailer gives away that I think should have been saved as a surprise.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Oh, have you seen this trailer?
I have.
Okay. So you know what I'm talking about.
I'm too excited for this movie. I can't not. This is Deadpool we're talking about.
Right. But but anyways, back to Abigail though. I will say what starts off is mostly a horror movie. I would say quickly once the shit gets going, quickly transitions into a crime thriller with vampires. Is pretty much where I would put it. This felt more action than horror, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But I think that's intentional. Also, all of this cast was like, oh, I recognize that person, but I don't know from where. The whole cast, like every last one of them was like, I know their faces. I know every last one of these motherfuckers. I just don't know from where. And I looked it up. The main girl, Joey, obviously not her real name. I just remember the code names they gave them for this. So Joey, the black-haired girl, the medic, she was in the last two Scream movies, or she was in two Scream movies.
Okay.
I don't remember which ones exactly. I think 5 and 6, though.
I recognized one guy right off the fucking bat. The guy that they went to the house where they were supposed to babysit Abigail for 24 hours.
Yep, Giancarlo Esposito.
Gus Fring from Breaking Bad.
And
Better Call Saul.
Well, not only that, yeah, he's in both of those, but also he's on The Boys. Hector. The head of Vought or whatever.
I forgot about that.
Victoria Newman's father, I want to say.
Okay. Yep.
Yep. He's in The Boys as well. He's great in everything he's in. I loved him in this. He definitely got to. I'm not going to spoil anything, but let's just say he really got to flex his acting chops at the end of the movie.
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did.
That was interesting. But this movie is not what you think it is. The trailer is misleading, and it really goes places. I did have kind of a feeling about one of the things, though. Like, there was a part of me that was kind of thinking that this all might have been intentional, that this might have been a lambs to the slaughter type situation, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, it's a trap, you know.
Uh-huh.
And I do feel justified in that prediction, but I also feel like that's blatantly obvious from the get-go, too. You know?
I would say that
Go ahead.
that guy Peter looked like Elon Musk on steroids.
That's who he looks like. He does. He looks like...
He looks like Elon Musk on steroids.
Yeah, no, he does. He looks like he looks like Elon Musk if he was melting.
Yes.
He does. God, yeah, I knew he looked familiar, but not for that reason. I have seen him in other things, but he mostly usually plays side characters and stuff. The blonde girl, however, Catherine Newton, I know her from two things. She plays Cassie, the daughter of Ant-Man in those movies. She was in Quantum Mania
Wasn't she in Supernatural too?
Yeah, she was in Supernatural for a little bit, and she plays the girl in the main character in Freaky, the Vince Vaughn movie, where Vince Vaughn
She
plays,
sure does.
yeah, where Vince Vaughn
And,
plays a serial killer and body swaps with her.
Yeah, it's like a horror version of Freaky Friday.
Yeah, have you seen that?
I have.
Freaky?
It's
Yeah,
fucking
it's a good one.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yes, it's amazing.
She's really good in that movie. Vince Vaughn very convincingly plays a teenage girl, and Catherine Newton very convincingly plays a serial killer. They were both very good in that. So yeah, that's what she's from. So I recognized her, and boy, was she good in this too.
Yes, she was. Oh man, was she good?
Especially in the later half of the movie when the things happen. Yeah. During that dance scene in particular was interesting.
Yes, it was.
And then the Frank, that's Dan Stevens. A lot of people know him as Matthew from Downton Abbey. I know him as the new voice of Corvo on Solar Opposites, who replaced Justin Roiland.
Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
he's been in a few things too. Although in both Downton Abbey and Solar Opposites, he does not sound like he does in this movie. In both of those things, he's putting on a heavy British accent. He's almost
Makes
like
sense.
You know I don't know if you've seen any of Disenchantment, but you know the guy who becomes a pig in Disenchantment. He's got like a I've got a very royal and snobby speaking voice like this kind of he kind of puts on that inflection for his Corvo voice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to watch Solar Opposites. I have not gotten around to that yet.
It's funny. He's hamming up the British a bit in there.
Okay.
So I will say, yeah, I like that this movie goes the places that it does. I just, in the beginning, I was not rooting for anyone, but by the end of the movie, I was rooting for Joey,
yes,
at least.
Absolutely.
You know. And honestly, even a little bit for the vampire girl, if we're being honest.
Abigail?
Here. Yeah. Even a little bit for Abigail, too, just because of other things that happened, but yeah. And you know what this movie also kind of reminded me of? It gave me similar vibes to Ready or Not, which was like a horror comedy. I would say that some of this borders on comedy.
Yes.
You know, like this is an entertaining thriller movie more than it is like a suspenseful horror movie. This is like Renfield, you know? I would say. In a way.
Okay.
It's very violent and over the top. It's not very spooky, and there's very little in the way of jump scares, too, which I appreciated greatly.
I will say, though, there are a lot of moments where if you are easily, if you're easily repulsed, you're gonna want to look away. Because your stomach will do the flippy floppies.
Oh, it's a very bloody movie. It's bloody.
Absolutely, it is.
And,
yeah.
But let me be specific about this. It's bloody, but not very gory, I would say. And that sounds really silly, considering some characters literally explode. But the thing is, though, it's like, you see very little viscera and guts. It's literally mostly just blood, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, there is a tiny bit of that here and there, but it's mostly just blood. Like, it's just, like, way over the top, like, buckets of blood throughout this movie. More than anything. Even the sustained injuries aren't really that visually difficult to look at. It's just that they bleed profusely. Like,
Yeah.
this is one of those movies where, like, the final girl walks out at the end covered in blood from head to toe.
Yes.
You know, it's Splatterhouse type horror movie. Is what I would say.
Yeah.
Like your old school Grindhouse affair. Like, this is like a Quentin Tarantino finale levels of blood. You know.
That.
uh,
I'll probably give this another watch once I'm once I'm out in Iowa, and I'll try to convince Sarah to watch it with me.
right. Yeah, it's got it's a very fun and over the top movie. Like,
Yes.
it's not really what I was expecting it to be. I was expecting, like I said, I was expecting it to be like, you know, the tables get turned because she's a vampire and all that. And really, I was just gonna be like rooting for her to kill them all the whole movie. I was like, fuck these people, they're all bad guys. But then things do change. It does change.
Yeah.
You know. And I do the movie has a way of making you start to feel for some of the characters. Not all of them. Some of them are still bad people, but at least one or two of them become redeemed by the end, I would say.
Yeah, I would say so, yes.
And those are the ones that you start rooting for, and it takes a lot of twists and turns that I wasn't really expecting. And I will say, though, some of these twists and turns start to feel a little stacked and goofy after a while. It becomes like a almost like a what's the best way to put it? Like a it like layer upon layer of like convolution near the end. It's straightforward. It's not confusing or anything, but it's like there's definitely like a bigger, like almost like crime ring, almost like mafia type thing going on here, and it gets a little ridiculous. I would say at some points in terms of like, you know, these powerful people working for these other powerful people and shadow governments and yada yada behind the scenes kind of stuff. And yeah, it's they took what appeared to originally be a simple vampire movie and turned it into a legitimate crime thriller with vampires in it. You know, it's like, for all intents and purposes, this is like if they put vampires in The Departed. I would, you know, like
Fair.
I do feel, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just, I think the movie stumbles with its identity sometimes. It wants to be a horror, it wants to be a thriller, it wants to be a crime mafia movie all at the same time, and it works. It all ties together really well, but it definitely feels like the movie shifts genres about halfway through. You know,
A little bit, yeah.
But and it for a movie that's almost 2 hours long, it also definitely feels like they jump around a lot. Like they're like some of the characters are just way too quickly willing to accept this and be like, all right, vampire, cool, let's fight it. You know,
Yeah. Not that easy.
Yeah, the reactions, some of the dialogue and reactions are a bit weird, but you also come to expect that from these kind of things.
Yeah.
Is this small nitpicky stuff like that, though? Overall, I had a really good time with the movie.
Good.
I would say.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it too. Kept me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, it was really fun, enjoyable, over the top movie. I don't think that it does anything more than that, though. Like, it didn't blow me away as like one of the most impressive and creative horror movies I've ever seen. Like, Talk to Me. It's a fun romp. You know, this is like, I would say, this is like this is like a Deadpool-esque horror movie. You know, it's just like way like over the top and fun, just like Renfield was. you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Renfield was
think,
very self-aware.
and that's a good way to do vampires too.
Yeah, it is.
But overall, if I'm being objective and realistic, I think this is a 8, maybe 8.5 out of 10 movie.
I would say I'd have to agree with that. 8.5, maybe even a 9 for me.
Yeah, yeah, you can rate it whatever you want. I'm just thinking. Yeah, yeah, I think that would be right. I really enjoyed
I'd
it.
give it a 9.
The girl who played Abigail, who by the way is also the star of Matilda the musical, is
Okay.
not the original Matilda movie, but the new musical that they
No.
just put out.
The one they did on Netflix, yeah.
Yeah, so she does a really good job as Abigail in this. Her dialogue, her seriousness, that one scene, the one scene where she's in the cage, quote unquote, and basically psychologically breaking them all down and telling them about their lives and taunting them. Amazing acting right there. I was
absolutely.
like, this is some real like mature and serious acting for a kid her age. She really comes across like threatening in this.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Yeah, no,
like a force to be reckoned with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She comes across less like a child and more like
An aged vampire.
Yeah, an aged vampire, a centuries old, mature, like basically an adult trapped in a child's body. And
Exactly.
the girl plays that so well. She
does.
really does channel that.
She
and
does.
so like this is a child actor like accurately acting like an adult, you know.
Yes.
Which I really liked. So yeah, everybody did a good everybody in this did a pretty good job actually with the acting, I would say. This was a well thrown together movie. It's a very messy and sloppy movie in more ways than one, but also like a very enjoyable and like fun
It's a shut your brain off kind of movie.
It definitely is. It's definitely it's a romp. But
Yeah.
not in the stupid way like the new Fast and Furious movies. It's still
Don't
art.
get me
This one is
started.
I would still call this one art. You know.
Yeah.
I would call those movies at this point mindless entertainment, but this movie is definitely art.
Absolutely.
You know, I give it a good I give it a solid recommend for sure. Like
Yes.
I definitely think people should watch this. If they have any
Such
love
a
for this
good
kind of
movie.
thing. Yes.
Such a good movie.
But all right. Did you have any other thoughts on that movie?
Not that I can think of, no.
Okay. All right. Well, that will do it for the media corner. Now it's topic time, my folks.
Let's go!
Well, that's just lazy writing.
All right, everyone, here we are at the topic, which in this episode is going to be all about tropes and cliches. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the term tropes, there's actually two ways that it is used. The first is a catch-all term for figures of speech that say one thing while artfully and imaginatively implying another. The second way that the term trope is used, and the way that we'll be using it here, is it's used as a storytelling convention, device, or
Yes.
or motif. Specific tropes might be a characteristic of a particular genre of storytelling, and that is the kind we're going with. It's basically a fancy word for cliches, but
Yeah.
more specific. So, there is a website called tvtropes.org where you can look up any movie, game, TV show, book, whatever you can possibly imagine, and on the page for that particular thing, it'll be kind of like a Wikipedia page, but you scroll down and there's folders you can open that list all of the tropes in that particular movie, game, whatever. And you can just sit there and read them all, and it will list the name of the trope and then the example of where that trope takes place in the
Okay.
in the story. And then each of these tropes have a clickable link that takes you to the page for that specific trope that explains what it is. It's how I've learned about a lot of these. It's a part of storytelling. So many of these get put in so many stories. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go through a few examples of these, and we're going to talk about times that we have seen this take place in different movies, games, whatever. And hopefully we will all have walked away learning a little something in the end.
Yes.
We're going to start with a very easy one. This trope is called the kiss of life. And I'm sure you can probably piece together what that is already just from the name. But
Snow White comes
gonna,
to mind.
Yeah, I'm going to read the definition anyways. A character has been rescued from some sort of danger, but they are now unconscious. Their rescuer, giving up on other ways of reviving them, attempts artificial respiration, also known as the kiss of life. Predictably, the unconscious character awakens at the exact instant their lips press together. So, yeah,
So not how CPR works.
No, it's not. Sometimes it can be played for laughs. Like if there's a like sometimes it can be played for laughs, like if there's like somebody's going to give someone CPR and then they wake up like right before their lips touch their mouth and they're like, you get away from me, and they run away. But then there's other times where the kiss of life is literal, like you said, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty is probably another example, where the kiss
I'll say there is another one that comes to mind. And the other one that comes to mind is that one scene in Sandlot when, kid with the glasses was trying to kiss the lifeguard at the pool, and he fake drowns just so she'll kiss him.
So, I'm scrolling down to the bottom of the page here to look at some of the folders of examples of games that have examples of this. Well, games, movies, TV shows, all kinds of stuff that have examples of it. I opened the films animation folder, and here's a few animated movies that have this. The Emperor's New Groove.
Oh, yeah!
This is exactly what happens when Pacha attempts to revive an unconscious Kuzco. When Pacha tries to explain the true nature of the situation, Kuzco refers to it as your little kiss of life with a heavy sarcastic tone.
How did I forget about that?
Yeah,
that's like one of my favorite movies.
The exact dialogue, too, was, for the last time, it was not a kiss. And he says, well, whatever you call it, it was disgusting. And if you'd done what I'd ordered you to do in the first place, we all could have been spared your little kiss of life.
Yes.
Let's see. In the epilogue of Ice Age The Meltdown, Scrat wakes up from his heaven full of acorns fantasy after being resuscitated by Sid.
Yes. Oh man.
In Madagascar Escape to Africa, this is used as a diversionary tactic by Private, who pretends to get hit by a jeep of tourists, then plays dead. When the tour guide tries to administer CPR, Private and the other penguins carjack the van.
I remember that very well. That shit was funny.
Let's see. Oh yeah, there's in video games, there's in Final Fantasy VII. In Rebirth, actually, there's a part where Cloud goes to perform CPR on Yuffie, and she calls him a pervert for it.
Okay. All right. There it is.
Yep. A few examples of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Live action TV, a few things that used it. Two Broke Girls, The A-Team, Breaking Bad. Had a Tuco criticizes Walt's efforts to perform CPR by shouting that he's supposed to breathe into the victim's mouth. Walt yells back that that's not right, and they don't teach that anymore.
They do.
Yeah, they do. Doctor Who has had it a few times.
I only know this because I was CPR certified at one point.
I was gonna say, so another offset of this particular trope is also the tears of life, which is when a character cries someone back to life, but their tears fall on them and it's like magic or some shit and they come back to life.
Yep.
Pokemon, the first movie.
I was just gonna say one good example would be Pokemon the first movie, where once like Ash is turned to stone and Pikachu's sitting there trying to shock him back to life, while at the same time crying, and while the electricity doesn't do anything, his tears do.
Yup. Tangled, I think, is this too. I think that's how Flynn comes back as Rapunzel cries over him.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Yeah, yeah. And that gets, like, faithfully recreated in Kingdom Hearts 3 as well.
I know a Flynn.
Let's see here. Okay, here's a fun one. Achievements in ignorance.
Okay.
In a world bound by laws of physics, some things are just impossible. Even when magic is involved, there are often limits. Despite this, though, somehow there's someone who can do things thought impossible because they were unaware it was supposed to be impossible.
Peter Griffin.
So basically people who are so stupid that their stupidity defies the laws of physics, and they accidentally succeed.
It's Peter Griffin to a T.
Yep, I would say that's pretty accurate. In fact, let me go down here and see if oh man, why did they only have
Before you do that, was The Sandlot on the list of live action movies that did The Kiss of Life?
I didn't see it there.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, I just thought of here's a really good example of the achievements and ignorance trope. Toy Story. Buzz Lightyear's accidental flying.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when he actually manages to quote-unquote fly around Andy's room with his eyes closed by bouncing on a ball, riding the loop-de-loop, and getting his wings hooked on a toy airplane. And then he impresses everyone. That's a prime example of that achievements and ignorance thing.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep. Let's see. I'm trying to think yeah, you're right, though. Peter Griffin is basically like Homer Simpson, too. Like, the living...
Yes, Homer Simpson.
And also, I'd say there's probably, like, a lot of, like, Looney Tunes style, like, things where, like, characters just accidentally...
Like the whole duck season, wabbit season thing?
Yes, yep. Although that's really more of Bugs Bunny outsmarting everyone, but...
That, yeah.
Here's a good example from the MCU on the list down here, WandaVision. Because they say the Hex only comes into existence because of Wanda's emotional outburst right outside her would-be home in Westview. When Agatha Harkness questions how she managed to create something so big and intricate without any training, Wanda flat out admits that she doesn't know how she did it. So...
Oh, okay.
It's not always someone being so stupid that they succeed too. Sometimes it's like... They call it an achievement in ignorance because ignorant isn't the same as stupid. Ignorant just means you haven't learned yet. So, an achievement in ignorance is basically you succeeding at something that you don't know how to do or shouldn't be possible.
Yeah.
You know? And that's let's see. Oh, they don't have any video game examples. That's unfortunate.
Oh,
man. But yeah, that's that one. Let's see. Okay, here's a good one. No Place for a Warrior. This is a good trope. This one is basically about the out-of-work soldier or the out-of-work mercenary who has a hard time readjusting to normal life. They don't fit in with peace. They need to be out doing killing and stuff. It says, war is hell, so logically peace ought to be better. Not in this case. For the professional soldier or sailor, peace means they're suddenly out of a job and have to find their way in a world that may have changed dramatically while they were away fighting. They may lack saleable skills and struggle to keep food on the table. They may also be dealing with the after effects of their war experiences. So I can immediately think of a good example of this. What was that recent Bob Odenkirk movie? Was it called Nobody? Was that what it was called?
I think so. I don't think I've seen it.
No, but it's basically the premise of it is that like he's an out of work CIA guy and like he's just jumping at the opportunity to get back into some action because he's bored with normal life.
Got it.
It's part of
Okay.
it. Kind of a similar like Liam Neeson's character in Taken up until he has to use his skills to get his daughter back, but in the beginning, his like his training from his job is kind of like getting in the way of him having a normal relationship with his family. You know,
I'm trying to think of one. There's something, man. I don't know if I'm just remembering something that didn't happen. Almost like,
Steve Rogers in the MCU.
oh,
That's literally his entire character. His fish out of water
yeah,
thing from being
true, yeah,
a soldier in World War II to basically a frozen caveman in the modern century. you
that.
know, I mean, he finds work again as part of the Avengers, but in Avengers: Age of Ultron, Ultron actually claims that Steve Rogers defines himself completely as a soldier, and as such, secretly doesn't even want a world at peace because such a world would have no place for him.
Yeah,
Basically, a peaceful world means Steve is out of a job.
pretty much.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Major Pain.
Major pain.
Yeah, Payne. That's a good example, I would say. Let's see. I'm trying to.
Oh, yep, that's okay. The that Wayans brothers movie.
Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. It starts off with Edward Kenway, who the guy you play as, he was working as a privateer for the British during the War of the Spanish Succession, but the end of the war spelled the end of his dreams of having riches enough to retire on, so he, among other sailors in the same situation, turned to piracy. As a result.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of pirates in that time were actually like war veterans.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good example from a video game, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Basically Cloud's whole story arc in Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
He's a former soldier.
Yep. Sure is. And he's looking for work.
Yeah. Yep. Mercenary work, but it's work.
Yeah.
Things definitely become more world-ending. Stakes are high by the end of his journey for sure, but that's what it is in the beginning. Just a simple bombing mission for pay.
Deadpool would fall under this category, wouldn't he?
Deadpool became what he is by accident, though, didn't he? Like through because he had, I can't remember what it was. Didn't he have like cancer or some
Cancer.
shit?
He had cancer. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to watch the first movie again, but I don't think that's exactly what it was with him.
Okay. I could be wrong.
Yeah, there's a good example of this in Life is Strange as well, but I don't want to talk about that one because I don't want to spoil it for you, the first Life is Strange game.
Fair enough.
But Jack Krauser from the Resident Evil games, he's in Resident Evil 4 as a boss battle, and he was a former soldier that worked with Leon Kennedy, but after a botched mission went wrong, he basically turned villain and he started working for the bad guys.
Okay.
Because he was discharged from the army, if I remember correctly, and he didn't know where else to turn. Yeah, he was driven to villainy by this very problem after a career-ending injury forced him out of the military. That's what it was. He had an injury. A true blood knight, he felt that the military was the only thing that gave his life purpose, and he sought out the villain Wesker in order to find a way to regain his strength. This is how a lot of characters become villains, honestly. Like former soldiers,
Yep.
Former CIA, and then
Yep.
they do a whole heel turn by the end of
Sure
it.
do.
Oh, Western animation is what they have is the cartoons folder on here. Okay, good to know.
Okay.
Western animation instead of cartoons. Yeah, because they also have a separate folder for anime.
Nice.
Anime and manga. I'm pretty sure there's a My Hero Academia character that falls under this somewhere.
Probably, yeah.
I can't think of who it is right now, but they're there. They exist. Comic books. A lot of this shit happens in comic books, superhero books all the time. So,
Oh yeah.
let's see. I'm gonna rapid fire like a couple of joke ones without like really going through too much detail on them because there's
Okay.
too many examples you can pull from. But when I mention these, you'll probably think, "Oh, I've seen these in like cartoons and shit a lot." There's one called Broken Echo where the person's echo doesn't react the way that it should. Like they'll
Yes,
say,
the Grinch.
"Yeah,
This happened in the Grinch.
yeah."
Oh,
So, like, the first time they'll be like, "Hello," and then it'll be like, "Hello, hello, hello," and then they'll say something else. They'll be like, "How are you?" And instead of the echo repeating them, it'll say something like, "I'm fine, thanks for asking," or some shit like that. It's called Broken Echo, or it doesn't respond at all, or it's like a joke thing. I'm glad you thought of it immediate, but it happens in cartoons a lot for comedy purposes.
Yeah.
The second, another rapid fire joke one is called the Swiss Army gun, which is basically the gun version of a Swiss Army knife. This is when somebody has a gun that is doing too much. It has like a bunch of shit on it. Like they pull out a gun and it's got like a pistol and a rocket launcher and a chainsaw and a knife and all that like attached to it at the same time.
Oh, there's a really good example of this, and I don't know. I can't for the life of me remember what it is.
Let's see. This happens in
Yes. The Mask. This happened in The Mask at one point.
No, yep, as a joke. Yep, I definitely remember that.
A Tommy gun.
It's happened a couple times in Star Wars stuff, actually, too.
Has it?
Yeah. Also, in the video game Control, this is kind of a subversive example, but it still counts, I think. The gun that you use in Control is called the service weapon, and it is made of nano machines that can morph and twist into whatever shape you need the gun to be. So it can be a pistol, it can be a shotgun, it can be an assault rifle. It's whatever gun you want it to be at that moment. So you're not switching weapons, you're just switching the shape of your current weapon.
So I'd be amiss if I didn't mention. Isn't there a gun in a game that you did a Let's Play for? The gun was voiced by, let's see, Justin Roiland.
Oh, yep. Solar Opposites. Yeah, or not Solar Opposites. God damn it. High on Life. High on Life.
High on Life. Yes.
Yes. Yep.
That gun is doing too much.
Yes. Yeah, I think that counts, although that'd be more like a talking inanimate object, like Beauty and the Beast type thing. But in the lore of that game, those guns are an actual alien species. They're called Gatlians.
Okay.
Yeah, very on the nose name there. Here's a couple of examples. In Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy Kong's Quest, Captain K. Rool arms himself with a blunderbuss that, while looking rather plain and ordinary, is able to rapid-fire massive cannonballs along with various types of debilitating gases that hinder the Kongs. He's also able to use it as a jet to propel himself around the arena at high speeds, and as a vacuum to draw the Kongs close so that he can club them with its stock.
Interesting.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a gun, it's a vacuum, it's a jetpack, so this is what I mean by Swiss Army gun. Like, this is a weapon, like, it's a gun that does everything. It's a gun that literally does whatever the plot needs it to do at the time.
Right. Okay, that
Uh,
makes sense.
yeah, it either has a bunch of attachments and functions, or it's capable of switching its functions and has multiple.
Okay.
With or without changing its form. Um, quite frankly, you could argue that the Keyblade in Kingdom Hearts is a form of this. Uh, Technically.
There's multiple weapons in Grand Theft Auto 5 that have this capability. Like the not necessarily weapons, but vehicles equipped with weapons. Like one of my favorite vehicles that I use all the fucking time is my MK2. It's a flying motorcycle, and you can swap it out with homing missiles, machine guns, whatever you need it for.
um, a couple more good examples. Adventure Time. There's an episode where Princess Bubblegum uses a strange shotgun with a knob. She adjusts the knob on it to change its features in these different firing modes, and these firing modes include slow lasers, projectiles that turn things into flashlight batteries, force fields, and creating a second gun of the same kind that starts out fused at the barrel of the first one.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's also,
Okay.
if you remember the old Cartoon Network show Time Squad,
Vaguely.
where the boy and the big dumb brute space guy and the smart robot would travel through time to fix historical inaccuracies. Um,
I don't remember this. Now
the
that you
wo-
mentioned that.
the characters were like Larry the Robot, Tud Russell, the muscular dude. He had like a black mask, and he had a big square jaw, and he had like a white suit, and he had like a little laser gun. And the boy Otto, he was a short kid with glasses. Though there was an episode where Tud Russell gets a laser gun with a ton of features, and the
Uh
one and it's got so many different, like a shaving, like, it's got like a fan, and like it'll shave your face and all kinds of weird shit. The one thing he can't figure
okay.
the one thing he can't figure out how to get it to do is actually shoot lasers. So yeah, so that one ends up being
Okay.
that one ends up being played for laughs.
That makes
Um,
sense.
Here's a good one. Mature younger sibling. This one's pretty self-explanatory. This is when the younger sibling is more mature than the older one. Um, or are more wise beyond their years than the older sibling. A good example would be um um iCarly,
Yeah.
or Family Guy. Stewie is much more mature and smarter
Aha.
than Chris by a large margin. um,
And Meg.
yeah. The Amazing World of Gumball is another example.
Dexter's Laboratory.
Yes. Bob's Burgers. Louise is smarter than her brother.
Yes.
I would say Dexter's Laboratory. You're right. Dexter and Dee Dee. Dexter is younger and smarter than Dee Dee.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Family Guy's on the list. I was right.
Nice.
Um, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Mac is smarter than his brother Terrence. More mature too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. Loud House and Owl House are both mentioned here. The Simpsons.
Is Phineas and Ferb mentioned?
Let's see. Let me look. The Simpsons is mentioned because Lisa is smarter and more mature than Bart.
Yep.
Let's see.
Could be wrong.
I don't see Phineas and Ferb on here. It just goes straight from Owl House to regular shows, so there's no P.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, those Western animation, some you wouldn't recognize any of the video game examples, but here's an example from a movie, The Hangover. Tracy is a well-organized woman with a stable lifestyle compared to her older brother Alan, a reckless idiot.
What better example to use Zach Galifianakis?
Right. In Onward. Have you seen Onward, the
I
Pixar film?
have seen I have seen Onward. Yes, I love that
Yeah,
movie.
I would argue that the
It
younger
was
brother probably fits that role in that movie.
absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, that's a good one. Let's see. I'm gonna mix two together real quick that are just like this is just a quick one. I'm not gonna do examples, but the looming silhouette of rage and the menacing grin. Think um that scene in Has Been Hotel where uh,
Alistair.
Alistair in the background was just
Uh-huh.
a silhouette with an evil grin and glowing eyes.
Yes.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Alistair's
Uh,
scary.
yeah, so that kind of thing. Let's see. There's one called the Henshin Hero. It's a variation of or subtrope of superhero. The Henshin Hero is when superpowered characters only have their special powers some of the time, not all the time. They have
Okay.
a Henshin hero has a distinct normal form and then a powered up form that they turn into, like an alter ego. But
Like
it's like
Goku.
so they only have their powers when they turn into the other form. It's kind of like Sailor Moon, for example. I
And Super Saiyan Goku.
Yeah, well, does he only have does he only have powers when he's Super Saiyan? Does he not have them normally?
Yes. He does
Okay.
not have them normally, no.
Okay. Yeah, I would all right, that makes sense
I
then.
would say the Super Saiyan side of things, but he still has things that I don't know. I don't know if that would even is Dragon Ball Z on the list.
This is, by the way, this trope gets zigzagged in the movie Turning Red. It's
It does.
yeah,
Okay. It
yeah,
sure does.
it gets
I love that movie.
it gets turned on its head. Technically Iron Man fits this because he only has powers in his suit.
Yeah. True.
Um, so I would say that fits. Dragon Jake Long.
Yeah.
Ben 10.
Mm-hmm.
Ben 10 fits this. He only has powers when he uses the Omnitrix and turns into the aliens.
Super Mario when he uses the power-ups.
Yup. Uh-huh. Exactly. Danny Phantom would fit this as
Yep.
well. Freakazoid.
Chalk Zone.
Chalk Zone. Yup. Oh, He-Man. He-Man would fit this because he only gets his powers when he holds the sword up and says, "I have the power." You know.
I'd be amiss if I didn't mention Popeye the Sailor Man.
With the spinach, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, that fits in there too. The spinach also though, that also because Popeye doesn't transform into like a hero character. So the spinach is more of like a Pac-Man power pellet for him, I would say.
Pretty much, yeah. I would, yeah. Or a power-up is like for Mario.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, more or less basically like that. Let's see. I'm trying to find a good horror trope here. Well, there's a few actually. We got body horror. We're familiar with that. That's horror derived from disturbing disfigurement or alteration of someone's body.
Human Centipede is a good example of that.
Or think The Thing or Resident Evil. We have cosmic horror, a subgenre popularized by H.P. Lovecraft, which revolves around mysterious, terrifyingly powerful entities that cannot be safely understood by humans.
Yeah.
Like Cthulhu.
Mm-hmm.
We have creepypastas, which is an internet thing, works of horror fiction.
Yes.
There's dark fantasy is a horror subgenre.
Mm-hmm.
Ghost fiction, gothic horror, horror comedy, horrorcore, which is horror themed hip hop.
Okay.
Think ICP.
There's a
medical.
song. There's a song by this artist called Skits Craven called "Bad Temper" that would fall into that category.
So I think Human Centipede would actually fall more under this than body horror, because body horror is like horrifying transformations.
Got it. Okay.
You get a parasite in you and you turn into a giant monster.
Got it. Okay.
What? So Human Centipede would actually fall under what's known as medical horror, which is horror derived from terrible physical illnesses or injuries being inflicted on living beings.
That.
Yes.
All of that.
We also have monster media, which is your typical, Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman stuff. Mummy media. Psychological horror, derived from the abuse of someone's fragile mind and unstable emotions rather than threats from physical danger. My favorite kind of horror, the shit that messes with your head.
That.
Here's a fun one. Psychosexual horror, a subgenre that explores psychosexual development as a subject matter, including themes of sexual development and sexual activity. That's basically the movie X.
That sounds about right, yeah.
Religious horror, horror derived from theological or mythological themes. Think
Carrie!
The Exorcist, Immaculate.
Or even Carrie.
Yeah. Obviously we have sci-fi horror. We know what that is. Alien. Slasher movies. Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Halloween.
Yep. Splatter horror. Scary stories that use explicit blood, gore, and violence for shock factor.
Evil Dead.
Yes. Yep.
Like I said, they used how many gallons of fake blood in the remake?
Right. Spooky kids media, horror aimed at children.
Children of the Corn.
No. That's horror about children. This is horror where children is the intended audience.
Okay.
Horror aimed at children. So think like Monster House, Goosebumps.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, exactly.
Poppy Playtime.
Superhero horror, when superhero tropes are played for horror, except the superheroes in the story to face off against... expect the superheroes in the story to face off against some unusually terrifying supervillains, or for the superheroes themselves to be the terror. So, that's
boys.
the
boys.
But also Brightburn, that horror movie about the Superman kid who turned evil.
Yeah.
Is a good example of that too. Vampire fiction, Werebeast works, Werewolf works, yada yada, Witch works, and zombie stories, of course, are all like the genres.
That another one that would be the Little Vampire with Jonathan Lipnicki.
So here's some of the most popular actual storytelling tropes that you'll see in horror, though. Abandoned areas. Empty.
Wow, I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah,
Fuck.
empty
Will Smith
houses.
was it? Will Smith was in it.
What, Hancock?
With a dog.
Oh, I Am Legend.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah,
I was really blanking hard on that one.
I think that one's technically zombie sci-fi horror. Zombie sci-fi.
Okay.
But yeah, so here are the actual horror, the actual storytelling tropes in horror. You have stuff like abandoned areas, obviously empty buildings, abandoned warehouses, hospitals, houses, scary. Adult fear.
Mansions.
Adult fear. These are tropes tied to realistic fears that adults could actually have. So think kidnapped children and shit like that. In horror movies.
Snakes on a plane.
Yeah.
There's a guy on the plane who has ophidiophobia, the morbid fear of snakes.
Oh, there you go. Apocalyptic Index, the end of the world as we know it. That's pretty self-explanatory. Mass death and destruction on a grand scale. Bloody tropes, darkness and shadow tropes. The absence of light is often feared to where to be where danger is lurking. This actually, this is a umbrella category for one of my favorite horror tropes called "Nothing is Scarier," where basically what that means is the thing that what you don't see is scarier than what you do see. Is basically what that means. So that's kind of like, think like that scene in Insidious where it's like lingering on the dark corner in Dalton's room and there's like nothing there, but you get the feeling that there might be something there, but it's not showing you anything. It's just freaking you out by hanging on a dark corner for a while and building tension. That's what that is. Another, like, a full movie example of this would be The Invisible Man.
Yes.
As well.
Or even Hollow Man.
Yep.
With Kevin Bacon.
Yep.
One of my all-time favorite horror movies.
Halloween tropes a lot in horror movies. A lot of horror movies take place on or around Halloween. Lovecraftian tropes. Madness tropes where, basically about, mental illness. Like Outlast, for example.
Yep. Oh, man. I still can't play through that game.
Paranormal tropes, scary animals index, that probably goes well in line with your snakes on a plane thing.
Pet Cemetery?
Yeah, Pet Cemetery, Anaconda, Lake Placid, Jaws, all that stuff.
The Meg.
The Meg, yep. Here's another fun horror trope, eye scream. This is anything having to do with eyeballs. Somebody getting stabbed in the eye, needle in the eye, anything eyeball related, eyeball popping out.
We saw that in one of the Final Destination films.
Yeah, seen it in quite a few things actually. Yeah, so that's some fun horror tropes. I'm gonna do a couple more random ones, and then I'm gonna do something very specific to finish us off here. Let's see. Insect Queen. This is a fun trope, also known as Broodmother. This is the giant bug or alien or creature or whatever that is basically its job is to birth more of the fuckers that the
species
humans are trying to survive against.
Species.
Yep.
The horror franchise Species. The sci-fi horror franchise.
Yep. Alien, the xenomorphs have a queen at the center of their hive in the Alien.
They sure do.
Movie.
Eight-legged freaks, maybe.
Yeah, I would also say, Dragon Age Origins, the video game, has a moment like this in one area. In the Dwarven Ruins, you can go down and kill a broodmother who is spawning more creatures known as the Darkspawn, which are like the main enemies you fight in the game. They're like, Darkspawn are to Dragon Age what the orcs are to Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
So yeah, there's that. And then there's some actual, like, examples of this, like, with actual, like, bees. Like, there was a episode of Chippendale Rescue Rangers with that had, like, an actual, like, queen bee in it. Futurama had this with the slurm worms.
Oh, yeah!
Yep.
I forgot about that.
When they discovered where their energy drink slurm came from.
Yep.
Gross.
Very gross.
But that's a fun one. Let's see. This is let's see. This is a fun one called "The Dead Can Dance," and this is basically a reference to how there's so many. Well, think Corpse Bride and Nightmare Before Christmas. Those movies are basically the living embodiment of this trope, "The Dead Can Dance." It's basically about how dead characters and things are usually, if they're coming back to life, they're usually doing one of two things. They're either trying to eat you, or they're trying to dance to a jaunty tune. You know, dancing skeletons, stuff like that. You've probably seen in cartoons.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
You know, spooky, scary skeletons.
Skeletons.
It's about, it's about dead characters coming to life, and instead of eating and killing people, they dance, they sing, they have a showdown. You know, the skeletons
The ghosts
are dancing in the
of
graveyard.
Hogwarts.
Yeah. So, a couple of examples. Well, Coco, the Pixar movie, is probably one of the prime examples of this.
I still haven't seen that.
And then, of course, Tim Burton's Corpse Bride. Oh, The Night on Bald Mountain from Fantasia.
Yep.
And, of course, The Nightmare Before Christmas, like I said. The SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run, the song that introduces El Diablo has the zombies performing a number with Snoop Dogg rapping.
Yes.
So that's an example of that. Is there video game examples? Yes. In Alone in the Dark, a group of ghost ballroom dancers guards the pirate key, and you must play the Dance of the Death record on the gramophone to make them dance and move away from it. There is, excuse me. Grim Fandango is literally this as a video game because you play as a skeleton in it. Some Zelda games have this, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, you can make the certain, like, skeletal or zombified characters dance in Ocarina of Time if you play the right songs.
Makes sense, yeah.
Luigi's Mansion has some of this. Dancing ghosts and shit.
Yeah.
So that's basically excuse me, the example is oh yeah, Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage has a mission where you have to collect all these bones to repair a caveman skeleton friend, and then once you get all the bones and repair him, he starts breakdancing.
Nice.
Yup, in the second Spyro game. I do remember that. So that's an example of that too. Here's a fun anime one. Fireball Eyeballs. This is when a character gets so mad that their eyes turn into literal fire. I'm sure you've seen it in a lot of anime, in cartoons. So I'm not going to go through examples, but another example, the kid with the remote control. This is when a smart genius kid has full control over a robotic companion that they built. Think Penny Parker from Spider-Verse. Yes. So stuff like that. Dragged off to hell. This is when a character gets dragged to hell by, like, skeletons or spirits come up out of the ground and grab them and drag them into the underworld. I'm sure you've seen that. There's literally a horror movie called Drag Me to Hell.
That is one of my all-time favorite horror movies, and that exact thing happens at the very end of the film. Yep. The lady gets dragged to hell because the lady that she tried denying for, like, was it a loan or some shit?
Yep.
She cursed a fucking button on her coat.
And Hades in Hercules, this happens to him as he gets dragged into his own underworld.
It sure does.
And that's also an example of another trope called being hoisted by your own petard.
Okay.
Where a character basically gets defeated by their own, by the same shit that they were going to use to beat someone else. Say for example, a mad scientist creates it happens to Yzma in The Emperor's New Groove.
It does.
The shit that I mean, she does turn him into a llama. It was supposed to be poison, but she ends up getting turned into a cat at the end by her own own magic. So it's like when a villain's own resources or weapons or whatever they're doing gets turned against them and is the cause of what makes them lose ultimately,
Yes.
Like if a mad scientist made a sleeping potion and he's like, "I'll put them to sleep with this," and then they accidentally sniff it and then they fall asleep. You know, something like that. That's called being hoisted by your own petard.
Okay.
So that's what that is. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. Goddamn, that's a fun one. I'm gonna give a couple quick examples off the top of my head that I already know about. We were talking about them earlier. The 11th hour superpower, which is when a character gets like a very strong weapon or a magic power or something, or like they get like a power boost at the last minute that helps them like, you know, like think of the like an anime or a video game where a character is getting their ass handed to them by the final boss, and then when the stakes are low and it seems like all hope is lost, they suddenly get a power boost out of nowhere, either from like the power of friendship or some shit like that, and they come back and they start kicking ass tenfold, you know.
I've seen that happen a lot in the WWE.
Think of when Sonic turns into Super Sonic at the end of the second movie, for example.
Yes.
Because they're losing hard to Robotnik at that point, but then he turns into Super Sonic and turns the tables on him.
Mm-hmm.
That is called an 11th hour superpower. Another example of that though is weapons too. It happens a lot in Resident Evil games. During the final boss battles, there's almost always somebody on the side that throws you a rocket launcher or super powerful weapon that you use to get the final blow in on the boss. Stuff like that. In a way, it gets lampshaded, but you could count the Looney Tunes water bottle thing in Space Jam, I think. That's more of a second wind, but I'll allow it.
I was gonna say there's something of that same caliber in the WWE 2K games, but this could also be translated to WWE as a whole. Each wrestler has what they call a finisher, and then they have what they call, after they do their finisher, a charged finisher. Now that charged finisher is supposed to be more powerful than their finishing move, and 9 times out of 10 that charged finisher will get them the 1 2 3 pin. Yeah, like one of my absolute favorite wrestlers is this is a good example, Randy Orton. One of his finishing moves is called the DDT, basically where he takes his opponent and he grabs him by the head and has their legs on their feet hanging on the ropes, and what he does is he drops their head to the mat, and then he waits for them to regain consciousness, and that's when he hits him with the RKO, the 3 most dangerous letters in sports entertainment.
Hey, yes. Okay, so one more quick example of that is in Final Fantasy IV. At the end, there's a boss battle where your party starts getting their ass handed to them, and the spirits of all the characters that have died throughout the story kind of show up to, encourage them to fight on, and it gives them like a power boost, basically, a second wind. So to finish this off, I'm actually going to, excuse me, something caught in my throat tonight.
Man.
I'm going to be talking about some tropes. We won't cover all of them, obviously, but we'll discuss some from one particular thing that I know we're both familiar with, and that thing is going to be Kingdom Hearts. I have pulled up Kingdom Hearts TV tropes page, and I've scrolled down to the folders that have the list of the tropes in it. And, we'll be discussing a couple of the tropes that appear, and this is the first Kingdom Hearts game in the series, to be specific.
Okay. I've played some of that recently, so I'll be able to remember some of it.
Right. Okay, so here's one. Alas, poor villain is this trope.
Okay.
And alas, poor villain is it says so there's a villain, right? Murdering, world conquering type. The
Yeah.
series is ending, so it's time to get rid of him slowly and painfully. So he goes out with a final touching quote and a one-woman wail. As odd as it may seem, if you want the audience to feel sorry for a villain, a good death scene is probably the way to go. This works best if you know, a good death scene is probably the way to go, is the best way to put it. So,
Yeah.
the example in this, unlike the rest of the Disney villains, Clayton in the Tarzan world is treated just like another victim of the Heartless, rather than as a megalomaniac psychopath. His heart was lost when he had a moment of weakness and became an emotionless puppet for them to use. After his death, the party expresses pity for him, with Tarzan saying that Clayton was a lonely, bitter, and friendless man, and so an easy target for the Heartless.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Here's a pretty self-explanatory trope. All for nothing. I think we all know what that means.
Yep.
This is possible in Wonderland when Sora obtains all 4 boxes of evidence. There is still a 1 in 5 chance that Donald and or Goofy would be labeled as the culprit and imprisoned, making the following battle a lot harder. So, and thus wasting all your time finding all the evidence.
Yeah.
As well. Let's see. This one is a video game specific trope, not a storytelling trope, but it's called All the Worlds Are a Stage. And the example of that is that the final dungeon includes a series of platforms with portals to other worlds. The one for Halloween Town takes you back inside Oogie's Manor, an area that you can't actually get to in the real world at that point.
Right.
It also includes the 100 Acre Wood, but that's the one area without any enemies.
Yep.
And they also... Sora, Donald, and Goofy also change forms while in the portals for Halloween Town and Atlantica in the final dungeon. Always night. This is a trope for areas where it's always nighttime. It's never daytime, no matter when you go there, no matter how long you stay, it will always be night, no matter what. Traverse Town, Neverland, and Halloween Town are all examples of this.
Yeah.
In this game. But there are examples of that you can pull from other things too, like other movies, TV shows, video games, stuff like that. Here's a trope that you'll enjoy: butt monkey. A butt monkey is basically the ass of the joke. Think when Lucy pulls the football away from Charlie Brown and he keeps falling for it every time.
Yep.
That's that Charlie Brown is a butt monkey in that scenario. So that's what that is. So in Kingdom Hearts, this is Captain Hook. After you make his life a living hell, he lands in the water and runs away from the crocodiles chasing after him. Like, Captain Hook is just a buffoonery villain in the game. So, butt monkey, as one might call it.
I've been a butt monkey at one point.
Here we go. Fighting your friend. This is a very self-explanatory trope. This is when two friends are forced to fight. It happens a lot in anime, actually.
Keenan and Kel.
Think Goku and Vegeta,
yeah.
Right? Well, in the first Kingdom Hearts, you fight Riku not once, not twice, but 3 different times.
Yeah?
So...
I would say Keenan and Kel is another really good example of that.
Yep. Here's another video game example. Final boss, new dimension. This is when the final boss of a video game teleports you into a seemingly new area to fight them. Completely different from where you just were. The example of this would be, the world of chaos at the end of Kingdom Hearts, where you fight Ansem attached to that giant ship. While you're flying around. So, foreshadowing is a storytelling trope, and we all know what that is. And this game has quite a bit of that. Kingdom Hearts games have an assload of foreshadowing.
Yeah, they
Too
do.
much to actually mention all of it, but it is there. See, like, we already know about tropes like foreshadowing and shit like that, so I didn't really talk about them too much
Yeah.
because we're familiar with those. I'm trying to talk about ones that people might not be as familiar with, but can still understand.
Right.
Here's another video game one. Gotta catch 'em all. This is obviously Pokemon related, but it's in reference to either the player or one of the characters in the game collecting a bunch of something. It's not always necessarily collectibles. It could be, like people and stuff too. So in the first Kingdom Hearts game, the example of this is all the missing Dalmatian puppies you have to find in treasure chests.
Okay.
Or the fact that Maleficent is collecting all the 7 princesses of Heart. That also counts.
Would the items that the few items that you need to set sail at the very beginning of the Kingdom Hearts game, would that be considered under this trope?
No.
Okay.
This is more about because that's not optional.
Got it. Okay.
It's mandatory. Yeah. Hey, remember how I said I mentioned someone being hoisted by their own petard? That's here too. It says Ansem is ultimately destroyed by the light of Kingdom Hearts, the very power he's been seeking throughout the whole game.
Oh.
As soon as the door opens and the light hits him, boom, he gets destroyed by it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. The Chosen One, that's Sora.
Yep.
That's a trope that we're all familiar with.
Yes.
Think also like Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker. What would be another one?
Harry Potter.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah.
There was another movie. Kung Pao. Wow. Kung Pao enter the Kung Pao enter the fist.
Well, you know what else would count there is Kung Fu Panda.
You're not wrong.
So, oh, by the way, I also want to mention the trope Chekhov's gun, because that is the trope where an item or something is introduced early in the story. It's shown to you, like in a movie, the camera will linger on it, or characters will call attention to whatever it is, and it's not important then, but it will be important later.
Yes, and I'm very familiar with that.
That's why they call it the Chekhov's gun, because it will, it's something that they want you to pay attention to now because it's not important now, but it will be important later.
Right.
Here's an example in the first Kingdom Hearts. When Leon picks up the Keyblade, it appears back in Sora's hand, indicating Sora as its master. This, however, does not happen when Riku plays Keep Away with the Keyblade and tosses it back in Traverse Town, which is the first hint that Riku is its rightful owner. Once Sora proves the strength of his heart after Riku succumbs to darkness and takes it back by force, the Keyblade properly returns to him, deeming him the more worthy wielder, because the Keyblade is sentient. And we all know now from Birth by Sleep that Riku was intended to be the original owner of the Keyblade,
Yes.
and when he opened his heart to darkness, the Keyblade chose Sora instead.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, the Chekhov's gun here is that, when Leon picked up the Keyblade, it automatically went back to Sora. The Keyblade chooses its master. But when he first meets Riku in Traverse Town, the first time he comes back and Riku grabs the Keyblade from him and tosses it back to him, it doesn't disappear because they're both worthy.
Yeah.
At that point, and that was a bit of foreshadowing and Chekhov's gun to point out that later, when Riku goes to actually steal the Keyblade from Sora at Hollow Bastion, that he'll be successful.
Right.
Another example for this is that the locations for the keyholes in many of the worlds are inside conspicuous yet innocuous-looking objects that you come across.
Mm-hmm.
And you really don't even know they're there till later, like the water fountain in Traverse Town,
Mm-hmm.
or the under that pillar.
Yeah.
In Olympus Coliseum. So, yeah, they have stuff like that. Mind Screw is another trope. That's basically the opening video of the game.
Okay.
Like the opening cutscene where it's like it's because it's a mind fuck is what it is. That's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
I would say. missing the call. That's when you accidentally miss the call to adventure by, and Riku does this by being so eager to jump into adventure, but he jumps too soon at the wrong opportunity and misses his chance to be the Keyblade wielder.
Yeah.
So, that's a good example of that. Just a couple more here real quick. We know nerfing. Nerfing is a trope in video games where, especially fighting games, where they will update it so that characters that were originally OP have now been nerfed to not be as strong. And that the way that they did that in Kingdom Hearts is in the final mix version of the game, it's a lot harder to forge the ultimate weapon than the original.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Here's a trope called new friend envy. It's when your old friends become envious of your new friends, and this happens to Riku when he makes friends with Donald and Goofy, and kind of pushes towards his being a traitor.
Yeah.
In that nightmarish nursery, this is a fun horror trope actually. This trope is when a area that was designed with kids in mind looks like a horror show. Think like
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Think like a what was I gonna say? Like an abandoned school full of spooky ghosts or something, or in Dead Space 2, there's like an area that was definitely meant to be like a nursery and a school and all that, and when the aliens took over, it well, you only see the aftermath, but basically, there's shit tossed everywhere, blood on the walls, broken glass, it's and it's a juxtaposition to like these paintings of like cute animals and shit on the wall.
Yeah.
So that's what they mean by nightmarish nursery. Well, the example of this in Kingdom Hearts is Lock, Shock, and Barrel's room in Halloween Town.
That makes sense. Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah, they even call it the evil playroom.
Oh boy.
Yep. So optional boss is a video game trope. We all know what that means.
Yeah.
People jars. This is a trope of like when people are kept in like jars or coffins or a crystallized state of some kind. This is what Maleficent is doing with the Princesses of Heart in this game. She puts each of them up in these like crystallized displays on the wall. And they call it people jars because it's like the equivalent of catching bugs and keeping them in a jar, but with people.
Okay.
Kind of
like when
so that's
kind of like when Han Solo froze himself in that
Oh, he was frozen in carbonite by Boba Fett and delivered to Jabba the Hutt as a gift.
Okay. You knew where I was going with it.
Yep. There's the rival trope in this, with Riku being Sora's rival. He then becomes the rival turned evil trope, but then becomes the redeemed hero trope later. He also becomes like a, like Sasuke from Naruto type character where he balances light and darkness in equal measure instead of being all one or the other. This is a fun one too. This is in a lot of movies and video games, but it's called scenery porn.
Okay.
Basically, it's where like movies, like think like the Dune movies doing, or like Lord of the Rings doing establishing shots of the scenery to show you how beautiful it all looks. That's scenery porn.
Okay.
Got
it. Okay.
Yeah. So like there are some scenes like that, like in Deep Jungle in Kingdom Hearts, for example. There's a trope called sequel hook, which is basically when a game has like a post-credit scene that hints at a sequel.
Marvel does that shit a lot.
Yes, yeah. There is there's a literal space whale trope in this one because Monstro is flying around in space when you go to visit it.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that. There's a trope here called starter villain, which is like a lot of like video gamey thing where like the first villain they put you up again is usually like the most incompetent.
Mm-hmm.
Or the lowest level one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so those are a few examples of some of the ones in Kingdom Hearts. And before we wrap this up real quick, I just want to say there are, for if you go to tvtropes.org and you type in the name of any game, movie, TV show you can possibly think of, and you go to its page, you scroll to the bottom, and there are folders you can open up that list all the tropes in it and the examples of them and where they take place.
Okay.
And it is a really fun read. But also at the top of the page, they have other sections you can go to, including Nightmare Fuel, Head Scratchers, Funny, Fridge, stuff like that.
Okay.
There's a thing called Fridge Horror, where they call it this because it basically doesn't hit you until later. So you know how the concept of like you put leftovers in the fridge to go back and eat later?
Mm-hmm.
That's how fridge horror works, where it plants an idea in your head that doesn't really sprout into a realization until much later, and then it smacks you and you're like, oh god, I just realized something. And there's more than just fridge horror. There's like fridge brilliance, but fridge horror is my favorite because of the implications that come with it. And I just want to point out here, where is it? That okay. Here's a good example of fridge horror.
Okay.
In Kingdom Hearts. This'll make you think. Whenever Sora, Donald, and Goofy run into a group of Heartless, Donald and Goofy will automatically fight them with you and will show absolutely no mercy towards those Heartless. And then there's the scene from Hollow Bastion where Sora gets turned into a Heartless when the group finds him. They don't recognize him, and here's where the fridge horror kicks in. Normally, when Donald or Goofy spot a Heartless, they usually destroy the Heartless without a second thought. In this case, however, Donald instead just taps Sora's Heartless on the head and tells it to get lost. Could you imagine how horrifying it would have been if instead of just letting that Heartless off easy, Donald just decided to vaporize it instantly with one of his spells, like he usually would with any other Heartless? The series would have ended right there and then, because there wouldn't have been a Sora for Kairi to restore, thus meaning there wouldn't have been anyone left to stop Ansem and close the door to darkness.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing Donald suddenly grabbed the idiot ball trope and decided to not instantly kill the Heartless like he would with any other Heartless,
Yes.
or else the universe would have been doomed.
Mm-hmm.
Bullet dodged, am I right?
Right.
So, oh, here's another fun one. Here's another fridge horror for you, because remember Kairi's heart was within Sora's for a while. Mm-hmm. Riku's one desire in the game was to protect Kairi at all costs.
Yeah.
Had Goofy not stepped in and protected Sora from Riku's attack in Hollow Bastion, Riku would have not only killed Sora but technically Kairi as well.
Yeah.
Goofy and Donald choosing Sora's side over Riku's was very sweet and all, but just imagine if they chose to stand there and let Riku kill him.
Mm-hmm.
They would not only lose respect from their king, but given how often Kingdom Hearts villains are killed, Mickey would have very likely been forced to do something about Riku.
Yeah.
Maleficent's behavior around Riku heavily resembles the case of real-life grown-ups leading children astray by feeding them lies and encouraging them to do bad things.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So there's a few examples of fridge horror in Kingdom Hearts, some shit to keep you up at night when you think about
right.
it. There's also a whole Nightmare Fuel section, too, which is, even worse, and it gives, the Phantom Heartless that you can fight. The Heartless's ability to appear anywhere and attack out of nowhere can basically be paranoia fill, paranoia fuel in a hotel room? Yep. Local bazaar? Yep. In an African jungle? You betcha. Almost nowhere is safe. Also, the idea that before the game even starts, countless worlds have actually been eaten and destroyed by the Heartless, and everyone who lived on those worlds is now technically dead.
Oh, jeez.
Remember in the first Kingdom Hearts, all of your summons, like Bambi, Dumbo, Simba, and all them, are the spirits of characters who's had their worlds destroyed by the Heartless.
I remember that.
And it's only your actions in the game that restore some of those worlds. Like Mushu and Simba get their worlds restored in the second game. But for a while there, their worlds basically disappeared and everyone on them ceased to exist.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of fucked up, but for all intents and purposes, Kingdom Hearts is kind of post-apocalyptic.
Right.
At first, you know. Very Star Warsian in that way, if you look at Sora as Luke Skywalker and look at Birth by Sleep as the prequel movies. But yeah, so that is that. We talked about the tropes and the cliches and the fun stuff, and
yeah, we did.
It would be a fun topic to revisit in the future, but like I'm not gonna make any promises. I'm not gonna call this a part one. We'll just see what happens.
Yeah,
you know. But I thought it would be fun to talk about, and I thought it would be educational.
Yeah.
People can learn a little bit more about tropes and stuff. I implore you folks, when you get some, free time, go to tvtropes.org, type in the name of your favorite movie, video game, whatever. Go to the page for it, and just read. Just check all that shit out, and you learn a little something about story writing and structure and movie structure, honestly. By reading all this stuff, and it helps you learn how to pick up these things too. I mean, I guarantee you, with all the shit CinemaSins says in their videos about movies and stuff, they probably use TV tropes as a reference point.
Probably, yeah.
Like, they're constantly calling out, like, Deus Ex Machinas and shit like that. So,
you might have stumbled upon something.
What's another one of their favorite ones to call out? You gotta come take a look at this cliche. You know, or you better come take a look at this. Or another one is another favorite, news position, where exposition is given through a news story on the TV in the show or whatever, or the game. Like, whatever's happening is explained to you by the in-universe news story.
Yeah.
So those things, But yeah, that'll be it for our trope discussion for now. I hope you all enjoyed it. This one was, like, this is a really fun one. I think I'd like to revisit it at some point.
Yeah.
There's an endless amount of tropes. Like, endless. There's so many. We barely scratched the surface. We didn't even scratch the surface. We nicked it at best.
Yes.
You know? So, but anyways, yeah. If, for those of you who are watching this over on YouTube, remember to smash that like button, but also let me know in the comments down below some of your favorite tropes and cliches, and, you know, they're not all bad. Some of them are good.
Yes.
You know, being a cliche isn't inherently a bad thing. There's good and bad cliches. You know, or you can send me an email at podcastoversoul@gmail.com or message me on Twitter at Oversoul53.
And you can find me over on Twitter at The Vaping Fiend and over on TikTok at The Vaping Fiend.
Indeedioso. Alright, well, that's it for this episode, everybody. Have yourselves a beautiful week, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.